Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land. I'm a Moorish empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every sovereign citizen that's ever been before. Find me one that won. God dang, you're right. Don't go down this. It's not the path. Don't have time for stupidity. Some clever dick on the internet didn't find the great loophole in all of the world's law. Bitch snitch. God dang, you're right. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. God dang, you're right. Moorish empire. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. Moorish empire. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. Late evening U.S. people. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everybody. It's me, Legal Vices. We are here for day 4 of the Karen Reed murder trial. We've gone through 3 days of this. We're just starting day 4. It's a long haul, but today I don't know what's going to be happening. I don't know how long they're going to go. I don't know if they're going to go till noon through a couple of witnesses, or if they're just going to finish off this one witness, because today is jury field trip day. The jury, they're taking them to the locations. To do an on-site tour of things so they can get a 3D perspective of what it looks like, distances, etc. I don't know when they plan on leaving court. They could just wrap up this one witness that they're working on now and then go, or they could go to the lunch break and then go in the afternoon. We're just going to have to play it by ear and see. They could go into the afternoon and then just go late in the afternoon. I don't know. We're going to see what happens, and if they do go over the lunch break, I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do at that point. But I assume they're not going to go past the lunch break. We'll just have to see. I'm glad to see all of you here. Let me bring up the court cam here right now so that we can keep an eye on it to make sure we don't miss nothing. We don't want to miss nothing. And there we are. And embiggen it. Alrighty. And then give it this view. And while we're here, do not forget, we've got, how many we got here? 218 people here and 92 likes. Come on, people. Good Lord. Get down there and hit that like button. What are you doing? This is YouTube. You know what to do. But make sure you go over here. I've got a pinned comment that says, click here to generate your bingo card. Generate your Karen Reed murder trial bingo card and play bingo along with us. I'm generating my card right now. Boom. There we go. All generated. So don't forget to do that. We almost got a full blackout of our board yesterday, and we only had half a day. It's a fairly easy bingo game to play. All right, take our like and subscribe poll. Once everybody gets down there and starts taking the likes and taking the subscribes and taking our liking and subscribing poll, then we'll start to have some fun. Today's like and subscribe poll, which is just simply there to remind you to like and subscribe, is how many what if any's will we have in trial today? By our count, our semi count and estimation yesterday, the Prosecutor Lally had 90 He had around 90 what, if any, based questions. So how many will we have today? 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80. Somebody's dialing into the court. That is not me.
Welcome to Zoom for Government.
Hurry up, law and crime. Get in on the Zoom conference.
Enter your participant.
Enter your participant. Wow, we're off on a saucy foot, aren't we? Enter your participant. Simple cocktail today. I found a rogue bottle of Jack Daniels.
And will be muted throughout the meeting.
I lied the other day and said I didn't have a bottle of Jack Daniels in the house. Oh, right off the bat.
You are unmuted.
Ladies and gentlemen, right off the bat, we get to mark off one of our squares, Ceiling Dion, the ceiling fan. For those of you who don't know, we named our ceiling fan Ceiling Dion. So we get to mark off Ceiling Dion already. How cool is that? All right, and while the court is doing that, I'm going to stop the screen and pull up the bingo. Here's your bingo card. Click on the bingo card, and this is your bingo card. We've already got Stealing Dion marked off. Mark your free spot, and we'll all play along. Let's bring this up here. There we go.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson from the street.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of the street.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Judge David Yannetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have to ask you those same three questions. Were you able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left here yesterday? Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Were you also able
Bridget,
to follow
I have
the
no idea
instructions
what your
and refrain
volume is
from
kind of
doing
off mean.
Independent
A
research or
million things.
investigation?
Specificity helps.
Yes.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? Everyone said no or shook their hands. So while you bring your witness in, Mr. Lally, I'd like to see counsel at sidebar for a brief minute.
Wow. We've already got another bingo square. The judge calls for sidebar square. We haven't even started, and we've already got the free space, judge calls for sidebar, and Ceiling Dion. So anyway, I have no idea what's wrong. Somebody tell me what's wrong with my volume, if anything. I don't know. I don't know what there's something wrong with there's something off about your volume means. I just don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's okay because I haven't touched anything and everything is the way it always is. That's the father of the victim there. He wasn't in court yesterday. All right. This is let's see what we've got here for our bingo card. Irish witness, judge sighs on mic. You hear sirens outside the court. They talk about the internet search. They talk about they make a specific reference to bad weather, the broken taillight. They talk about the dog. They mention the first responder. The prosecutor says sort of. The witnesses lip smack. We got a lot of that yesterday. Witnesses going before they answer anything. Lip smacking witnesses, firefighter witness, a heavy Boston accent, not just a normal Boston accent, but like a seriously heavy Boston accent. Darth Vader microphone breathing, talk about the scratch marks on his arm, the prosecutor laughing nervously. It should be coughing nervously. Sorry. I wrote laugh for some reason. The defense gets the prosecution witness to admit to a lie. We reach the $100 super chat level and doggo cam happens. The prosecutor says, who, if any? The prosecutor says, what, if any? They call a cop for a witness. The lawyer calls for a sidebar, and they make a reference to the body on the front lawn. That's our bingo card for today. So make sure you download that. It's up there. It's the pinned comment. That's where you can download it. And also, we've already got a super chat that puts us 1/10 of the way to achieving the doggo cam square. Cloak and Glomer, how are you doing, brother? Good to see you. Thank you so much. Here's to less lip smacking and more law racks. Heading to the airport, enjoy the stream. Well, thank you very much. I hope you listen to it on the way to the airport. That's very, 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 very kind of you. Thank you so much. And as always, when we do the trials, we'll put up the super chats, flash them up so you know they're being read, and then we'll read them during natural breaks in the trial. Sidebars like this, changing witnesses, pauses while they set up audio, video during breaks, things like that. And we'll also just put up other comments that I notice and think are particularly interesting or funny. If I don't put it up, it doesn't mean it's not interesting or funny. It just means I probably didn't see it or I'm laughing inside. Oh my God. Holy shit. That was unexpected. Sonia or Chris with the $100 super chat. God dang. You get the foghorn. Thank you so much for that. Cry havoc and
Release the hose.
All right. Well, I thought we had a bit more time than that to set up dog cam. Whoops, that was the wrong thing. Now I'm all nervous and panicky. Thank you so much for that, Sonia or Chris. That is super, super, super kind of you. All right, let me set up doggo cam here for a bit. Whatever the opposite of ready is, like really, really ready. I'm the opposite of that. I'm really, really unready. Extra cam. There we go. There's an empty chair. Hey, Strawberry, go do something. Dance for your dinner. Sing for your supper. All right. Dang. All right. This is what we do for those of you that are just joining and aren't aware. We have the emotional support potato pig dog cam. That's Strawberry there. Yoda is dead asleep on the couch. So Yoda will be joining us for the remainder of the day, and that also means you get to check off dog cam on your bingo card. Sonia or Chris is being super, super cool. That is, which also triggers the fact that I have to do a shot of whiskey. That's the deal. $100 chats automatically result in shots. I don't have a shot glass, so cheers. Oh God, it's Jack Daniels. All right. Thank you. Hey, Strawberry, what's up? All right. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I lied a few days ago when I said I didn't have any Jack Daniels in my house because I wouldn't stoop to that level. But I lied. I accidentally found a bottle. Well, I didn't accidentally find it. I was moving other bottles around and found this little one in the back. So thought we'd just finish it off with some Jack Coke tonight while we watch the trial. All right, thank you so much again, Sonia, because that is super, super, super nice of you. This is a very, very long sidebar. Let me adjust. Well, you're not supposed to do that, Straubs. Get back there.
Court reporter.
Could you raise your right hand one more time? Do you solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case down here is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Let me see here. Dang. Her flesh-colored clothing kind of caught me off guard there for a second. I was like, okay. That caught me speechless there for just a quick second. I thought, well, that's the most awesome
Whenever you're ready, Mr.
I've ever
Alley.
seen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, I have a few more questions for you. So, turn your attention to the period of time you testified about yesterday when you're at Mr. O'Keefe is in the back of the ambulance. With respect to his clothing, what, if any, observations?
Oh my God, what if any? Check that off.
He had, in terms of what he was wearing,
Literally the first question.
he was wearing jeans. He had on a dark colored light zip up jacket. And I noticed one sneaker.
Now, with regard to that clothing, what, if any, observations did you make in regard to the condition of that clothing?
It was soaked through.
As far as tears or holes or anything else with regard to that clothing, what, if any, observations did you make of that?
I didn't see any.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have exhibit number 18.
And while he's doing that, Adara the Wholesome for $2 says bingo card has broken tail light on it twice, by the way. You're using yesterday's card. Today's card, which is linked up there, does not have it twice. So you use today's card, Adara.
Okay.
Now, first, Firefighter McLaughlin, do you recognize what's up on the screen as Exhibit 18?
Do I recognize,
What it is?
what it is?
Yes.
It's a picture.
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
The address of the call, 34 Fairview Road.
Now, with respect to this photograph, you observed.
Yes, she's a firefighter.
Where Mr. O'Keefe was.
She's a
on
smoking
the ground when you first arrived.
From this angle, no, I don't.
And if you could, it was not on the photograph. Is it off to the left, the right, or where would it be in relation to this photograph?
To the left, I would say.
To the
And,
left. To the left.
about how far off frame do you believe it was?
I'm not sure. So my view of the call was, my reference point wasn't a house on either side. The patient was off the road. So my view of this call was the patient was on the side of the road. The only thing that I noted was a fire hydrant. So in relation to, I know it was to the left of a house, but I'm not sure exactly how far left it would be from this picture, from this angle.
So your memory is to the left of the house near a fire hydrant, is that correct?
Yes.
Take that down. I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, we got out of that with one what if any question. Could have been much worse. Now she's going to get eviscerated.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Morning.
You responded to the call of an unresponsive male in the snow at 34 Fairview. That was the address you were called, correct?
Correct.
The house you just looked at, that is in fact 34 Fairview, right?
Correct.
As Mr. O'Keefe was being transported by ambulance, you were instructed by firefighter Flamati to get information about the victim from Karen Reed, correct?
He wasn't being transported by the ambulance at that time. He was on the stretcher. And Tony, who was at the head of the stretcher, asked me to get information from Miss Reed about the patient, but he wasn't being transported in the ambulance at that time.
Who's Tony?
Firefighter Flamati.
Got it. When you did, in fact, did you follow those directives?
I did.
When you finally approached Miss Reed in order to get that medical history as best you could, what did the scene look like? Who was with you or around you?
So they started to move the stretcher towards the ambulance. Miss Reed was sort of, I guess I would describe it as moving around the scene. So she was moving, kind of going in circles. So I was really just focused on her, trying to get her to converse with me and get those questions.
Dude, you made
so
my morning.
I wasn't really noticing anything else at that point. I was more just trying to contact her, and she was moving around.
What were you wearing at the time?
I had my like winter fire jacket on.
What color is it?
It's yellow and red.
Bright yellow for safety purposes.
Yes.
When you began your actual questioning, once everybody sort of stood still, you began your questioning of Miss Reed. You were standing in one spot. Miss Reed was standing to your right. Is that right?
Well, the questioning started, as I said, she was moving around the scene. So the questioning
she's
was
one of the witnesses
as she
that
was moving
reportedly
around
heard
to
Karen
different
Reed
locations.
saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I don't know exactly how many of the questions I got out during the time that she was moving around. At one point we did come to a stop. And at that point, she was to my right.
That's the point I want to focus your attention on, if I could. When you came to a stop, that's the point at which you recall the statement being made that you attribute to my client.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that group, who was there? I want to make sure I understand this exactly.
So there was Miss Reed to my right. There was a civilian woman to my left. There was a police officer who was not directly across from me, but I would say maybe diagonal to me, closer to Miss Reed.
Your Honor, I'm holding a photograph. This will be shown to the Commonwealth. May I approach?
Yes.
I'll show you Mr. McLaughlin, a still photograph. I'm going to ask you to take a quick look at that photograph and look up after you've studied it for a second and tell me if you recognize people that are in that photograph.
I recognize people in it.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes. Is this an exhibit or are you moving to introduce it?
I'm moving to introduce it. It has not been introduced as yet.
Okay. So go ahead and have the witness adopt it.
Sure. Do you see the person closest to frame? Closest to the camera?
Yes.
In what appears to be a yellow and red jacket.
Yes.
Who's that?
That would be me.
Who's to your right?
It appears to be Miss Reed,
And to your left?
a civilian woman,
And across, as you said, sort of diagonal, closer to Miss Reed is?
a police officer.
Do you know that officer's name, by the way?
I don't know his name.
Okay. Your Honor, with that, I would ask that this be marked as next in order.
Okay. Is there any objection?
No objection.
So we are going to remark these exhibits today because of the problems that I indicated at sidebar. How do you want to do this, Madam Reporter? I don't know where we start from.
And while they're figuring out how to do that numbering system, yesterday, Turtle Boy pointed out on Twitter that
Tori, how
apparently
many
this
are in
witness
evidence?
that reportedly heard her say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," is a drinking buddy of the daughter of the cop who owns the house where the body was found.
Folks, it's my responsibility to make sure the record is intact. And you've heard numbers 1, 3, 309, 247. We need to straighten this out to make sure it's appropriate for you. You know what, Madam Clerk, Madam Court Reporter, just mark it as the next exhibit number, whatever in the hundreds that is, and we'll take care of this today. I don't want to waste your time, folks, while we do this, but it's very important that we do it.
Hey, Paralegal Liz is here. What's up, Paralegal Liz?
All right. All right, so there was any objection to that from the Commonwealth?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McLaughlin, this is the time or the scene that you've told us about when you heard the statement that you've attributed to my client, correct?
Sorry, say that again?
Sure. This is a moment in time, it captures a moment in time when you're standing there. To your right is Karen Reed, which you've described. To your left is a civilian female, which you've described. And across from you is an officer, which you've also described.
Yes.
So this would be the time or close in time to the time that you heard the statement that you attribute to Ms. Reed, correct?
Yes.
The first time you ever made that official report, or an official report to law enforcement regarding that statement was January 30th, 2022, correct?
Well, yes and no. The statement was made in front of the police officer, so that would technically be the first time that statement was made to a police officer in my presence. And then, yes, I testified to it on January 30th, as you said.
Got
You
the
said
wheels
it
of my
on
chair
January
caught
30th
on
or
the
testified,
floor protector.
that's correct?
Okay. Said it.
Okay.
Yes.
My question was really, and I appreciate you clarifying, my question was really the first time you actually told this statement to any law enforcement officer was on January 30th.
Yes.
Okay, we can take that down. That was when you met with Trooper Michael Proctor, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, that was very close in time to the event. It was the next day. Is that right?
Yes.
The events were close.
The 29th. Yeah. So it would be the next day.
Right, 29th, 30.
Yep.
Okay. The events were fresh in your mind at that time?
Yes.
You obviously knew about the importance of that interview. You knew that it dealt with a police officer who had passed.
I knew it was important to talk to the police about what I heard.
And you wanted to be accurate.
Yes.
You wanted to be as detailed as you possibly could.
Yes.
And you understand that memories, obviously, they get a little worse with time, not better with time, right?
Sure.
The closer in time you are to the event, the fresher your memory is going to be about the details of that event. You would agree with that, right?
Sure.
You told Trooper Proctor the day after the event, on January 30th, that the statement that you attribute to my client was actually made to the female, not to you in response to your questioning. That's what you told Trooper Proctor, correct?
I don't have those notes in front of me, so I don't know that I can tell you that that's correct, but the statement was made in response to my question. However, the Miss Reed was looking at the civilian woman as she said that.
Does it refresh your recollection that what
Don't read what you think refreshes a recollection. You can show or you cannot read it. Yes.
take a look.
That is correct, Judge.
And look up when you're finished.
Okay.
Ma'am?
Sure.
You're on the
Yes.
air. Does that refresh your recollection about what you told Trooper Proctor on January 30th?
Yes.
And you told Trooper Proctor,
No,
quote,
let her,
in terms
hold on. I'll see it, Ted.
Okay, the judge is correct here. He shouldn't read what she said previously. I mean, you can say, did you say this previously? But in this report you said this. He shouldn't be saying that, because that's testifying. He either needs to say, did you say this, or
in fact, what you told Trooper Proctor was, quote, Karen then turned to her friend and stated, I hit him. End quote. Correct?
Okay.
Is that yes?
Yes. If you're saying that's in quotation marks in that, then yes.
That's what's in the report.
Okay.
And you don't have to agree with me. I'm asking yes or no questions. Not okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, okay is not an answer.
So in fact, what you told Trooper Proctor was that Karen Reed looked at the female to your left and said 4 times, I hit him. Correct?
Yes.
And have you since learned the name or identity of the female that was standing to your left?
No.
You're aware that the female that was standing to your left reported the exact same statement?
No.
Are you aware that the female standing to your left reported that exact same statement as, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Did I hit him?
No, I'm not aware of that.
You then went back to the ambulance after you heard that statement that you believed you heard my client state.
Yes.
You opened the ambulance door, correct?
Yes.
That was the back door?
The side door.
The side door. And there were two firefighter paramedics in that ambulance at the time, correct?
I believe there were more than 2 at that time.
2 of them included firefighter Nuttall and firefighter Flamont.
Yes.
And at that point, you told them what you believed you had just heard.
So I went into the back of the ambulance. I said, this is his name. This is his date of birth. She says he doesn't have any medical history or allergies, doesn't take daily medications. And then I said, she's saying I hit him. And firefighter Nuttall motioned to his face and said something.
Objection, Your Honor.
Ask another question.
That was a hearsay
So the answer
objection.
to my question is, yes, you told in front of Flamati and Nuttall the phrase, "I hit him"?
Yes.
You didn't write that in any report?
I don't write a report in this scenario of my job.
Let her finish the answer, please.
So there are two people that will write reports in my department on a call, one being the lead paramedic and the other being the officer who's on scene. So those are the people that write reports, and I was neither of those, so I did not write that in a report.
Okay.
That's correct.
So let me ask the question again. You didn't write it in any report?
No.
You didn't write it in any notes?
No.
You didn't document that statement in any way whatsoever, correct?
Other than my interview.
There's a lip
with,
smack.
Proctor
We got a
and
lip
my
smacking
subsequent
witness.
testimony.
You didn't document that statement in any way yourself, did you?
No.
Since January 30th, in that conversation that we just talked about with Trooper Proctor, your statement has evolved. Is that right?
Has evolved. That's a nice way of putting it.
I don't know how to answer that.
Yes or no?
Yesterday to something quite different
Not quite different.
than what you testified, I'm sorry, than what you stated to Trooper Proctor.
Respectfully, I think
God.
my testimony has been pretty consistent.
I thought it was the
Testified
only
something
one.
yesterday, quite different in context.
Me too.
Than what you told Trooper Proctor. Isn't that right?
I don't know that that's right.
Well, you told Trooper Proctor, Karen Reed looked at a female standing to your left, said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." Right?
Yes.
Yesterday, you told these jurors that Karen Reed said, "I hit him," and an officer said, "You what?" And she repeated, "I hit him," and the officer immediately turned and went to find another sergeant. Is that right? Or
Yep,
no?
that's
Yes
what
or
she
no?
said yesterday.
No, there was more to that testimony.
That's not what
No.
you said yesterday?
I think I said more than that,
No,
than
you
what you
didn't.
just repeated.
Is
No,
what I
you didn't.
said consistent with what you said yesterday? There's a lot of things that you said more of. I'm asking, is that the sum and substance of what you told these jurors yesterday?
Yes.
So you would agree that from that time till yesterday, your story has evolved. It's changed.
Yes. Say yes. Say yes.
Would I agree with that?
Yes.
I don't know that I agree with that.
You think the story that you told Trooper Proctor is exactly the same?
I understand what you're saying. So I understand what you're saying.
So has your story evolved?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to call that admission of a lie. Everybody playing bingo, mark off admission of a lie on your bingo card.
Ms. McLaughlin,
She's admitted
Who's Caitlin
her
Albert?
story has evolved.
I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert.
somebody named Caitlin Albert.
I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert.
So do you know Caitlin Albert?
I do.
You're friends with Caitlin Albert?
I would say more acquaintances.
Acquaintances.
Not close friends.
How do you describe an acquaintance?
I would say that we have mutual friends, so we might see each other occasionally because of mutual friends, but we don't have a one-on-one friendship or hang out regularly.
Who's her dad?
I don't know.
Objections.
Do you know who her family is?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach her?
Yes.
Okay, while they're approaching, okay, that was, oh, by the way, that was a lawyer calling for a sidebar. So mark off lawyer calls for sidebar on your deal. Tell me if you think this picture looks like they are acquaintances or if are they more than acquaintances? What do you think? Acquaintances or more than acquaintances? They're not friends. These are the two we're talking about here. That's the witness here in the blue bikini, and I believe that's the Albert girl right behind her. This is the picture that the Turtle Boy put up yesterday. So that's that's her saying that she is just acquaintances, not really friends, and she went to high school with them. This is, I hope, a post high school picture, and they look to be a little more than just passing acquaintances who have mutual friends. So, yeah, there you go. You decide, is she telling the truth or is she lying with that statement? And if you've downloaded your bingo card, so far we've checked off lip smacking witness, Ceiling Dion, the ceiling fan. We've unleashed Doggo Cam. What, if any, judge calls for sidebar, admission of a lie, and the lawyer calls for sidebar. Those are the boxes we've checked off so far. If you're following at home and playing legal bingo with the Karen Reed murder trial, and if you want to play with us, if you want to play along with us, click the link there that's pinned up to the top of the comment section. All right, and we've got some more time here, so let's talk about J-Lo. Says, every time someone says Trooper Proctor, I hear Chupacabra. I swear to Christ, I thought I was the only one that heard that. And so I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to sound stupid. But so now I feel vindicated, even though I didn't say anything. Every time they say Trooper Proctor, I hear Chupacabra. Absolutely, I do. And I was going to mention it, like I said, but I didn't want to sound weird. And Island says, is she less hot if she's a dirty liar? No, that's when you just go, don't lie. Oh, the jury's leaving. Holy shit, this is a serious sidebar. Not feeling stupid, right? Come on, Flux, you hear Chupacabra too. Now you're going to hear, everybody's going to hear Chupacabra now. Now it's just going to be like audio affirmations. But all right, this is going to be interesting. She's sending the jury out.
All right. Miss McLaughlin, I'm going to let you step out for a few minutes.
Ooh, it's about her.
Show them what you have.
It's
And
probably
let a
this
court officer
picture.
know when you're ready for me to come back out.
All rise for the court, please.
What the hell's going on here? This is odd. I thought the judge was going to sit there and yell at them, or at least they were going to talk about whether or not to admit a certain piece of evidence. I have no idea what they're doing here. Huh. What? Who has bingo? Island has bingo. How can you have bingo? We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Joe Choi. Okay, Island has bingo too. That means someone else has it. El Cuba Libre. I've got an El Cuba Libre right here. Well, not really. It's Jack Coke. It's not rum Coke. Close enough. Island has bingo. Island, what are the ones you have that gave you bingo already? And who else has bingo? Mal 35 has bingo too. Holy crap. But what do you guys have that gives you bingos? I'm one away on 2 lines? Holy crap. My closest, I have like 2 on 1, 2, 3 lines. Dang. Judge using excuses order second breakfast from the Hobbits. Now, see, a lot of you are shitting on the judge, saying she's really bad, she's annoying you. I think she's doing a very good job. I mean, I don't. You all say she's biased because she's cutting off the defense, but I think every one of her comments has been legit. I don't think she's being unfair. I like this judge. She's a no nonsense judge. We're seeing things. Squizgar has it too. Firefighter witness, admissions of a lie, free. Okay, lawyer calls for a sidebar, and Celine Dion. Oh, I didn't mark off firefighter witness. I'm dumb. All right. Well, that doesn't help me at all either. Now, Doggo Cam. So yeah, you have to make sure Doggo Cam is what we've got here with Strawberry. If they make a mention of the German Shepherd that was owned by the Alberts, that's the dog thing. All right, while we've got this break, let me walk you through a little bit of the cast of characters here, in case you forgot from the defense's opening statement. Karen Reed obviously is the defendant. John O'Keefe, a Canton police officer, is the victim. Brian Albert is also a Canton cop and the owner of the house where John O'Keefe's body was found. So the body of one Canton police officer was found in the front yard of another Canton police officer. Now, John McCabe is Brian Albert, the homeowner's. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Brian Albert owns the house where the body was found. Jennifer McCabe is Brian Albert, the homeowner's sister-in-law. And Kevin Albert, who is also a police officer in Canton, is the brother of the homeowner. Now, this Michael Proctor Chupacabra guy, because Kevin Albert was a Canton police officer who probably should have been the person in charge of the investigation, was the brother of the owner of the house where the body was found, the state police took over the investigation. The state police officer and the lead investigator is the man named Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor, his mother is very, very close to the Albert family. The defense lawyer, Mr. Yannetti, said that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator in this case's mother, refers to the Albert family as her second family. And Colin Albert, another one of the Alberts, was in the wedding party with Michael Proctor at Michael Proctor's sister's wedding. And they all sat at the same table, at the head table in this wedding. So all of these people are very, very intertwined, and they're all and Michael Proctor's the creepy one that the defense lawyer said that he confiscated Karen Reed's phone and was texting his high school buddies that he was, even though he didn't have authority, he was looking through her phone trying to find nude pictures of her, and he was sad because he didn't find any. He was also the person that took a search warrant out on the car, but apparently he actually took possession of the car 90 minutes before he said he had it on the affidavit or on the search warrant report. And so he had unfettered access to this car for 90 minutes. And it wasn't until after he had possession of this car for 90 minutes that bits and pieces of taillight began showing up at the scene where the body was. Because at the time the body was found, with all of these police officers, firefighters, EMTs, and other people milling about the area, not one single person reported ever seeing or finding the taillight plastic, the taillight casing plastic. It was only after this 90-minute period where Michael Proctor had possession of this vehicle without the authority to do so, or before he told anyone he had possession of it, that the pieces of plastic from the taillight began showing up where the body used to be. And they continued to show up for approximately 2 weeks after that. And another big point that the defense counsel made during his opening statement was that Brian Albert, the owner of the house, is a Canton police officer and a first responder, and was told and knew that a body of another police officer from the same department was found on his front lawn. And he never went outside to look to see what all of these flashing lights, all of the ambulances and the fire truck out in front of his goddamn house, but he never left his house to see what fellow police officer was laying in the snow in front of his yard. In his front yard. No police officers ever asked to talk to him about the accident, about this body. Nobody ever asked to go in his house. No search warrants were ever taken out to go into his house. In fact, Michael Proctor was answering. People were text messaging his him going, oh my God, the owner of that house is certainly going to be in trouble. And he was texting back, nope, because he is a Canton police officer. So we mentioned Jennifer McCabe, who was Brian Albert, the homeowner's sister-in-law. We mentioned her because she was the one that Google searched the term, how long does it take to die in the cold? About 3 hours before anybody had any idea that someone was outside the front door dying in the cold. So that's this little tangled web in a nutshell. What do you all think? I'm curious as to what you all think here. We got 560 people here and 301 likes. That's more than 50%. That's good. Please continue to hit that like button. I would just deeply appreciate it. And if you feel like peeling off a subscription and subscribing to the channel, please do so. It costs you nothing and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So do me that favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And take our like and subscribe poll. We're falling way behind on the like and subscribe poll. Today's like and subscribe poll is how many what if any's will we have today? 5% of you said 0 to 20. 15% of you have said 20 to 40. 24% of you have said 40 to 60. And 56% of you have said 60 to 80. So far, we've had one. It was legit his first question. It was legitimately his first question, but we've only had one what if any so far. Jeff K, what's up, Jeff K? Jeff K has just joined the higher tier Bent Halos and Broken Wings tier membership. And speaking of memberships, we are going to have at some point a members only stream this weekend, because in about 11 hours from now, or 10 hours from now, I'm throwing the dogs in the Jeep and we're going camping for 3 days. So I've got nothing to do at the campground but read books, listen to music, drink whiskey, and smoke cigars. So at some point during that time, I'm just going to break off a members only chat and we'll just sit and hang for a bit together. Can't say when it'll be. If I can't even guess when it'll be whenever the alcohol tells me it's time. So if you're a member, please pay extra attention to your member notifications this weekend, because there will be a member stream at some point over the weekend. How coherent I will be, I don't know. Do you get a members only jacket? If only this was 1987, I'm sure you'd already have one. In fact, I still think I've probably got my members only jacket in my. Oh, well, no, my dad moved out of the house I spent my entire life in. So it's probably in a storage unit somewhere. All right, guys. Let's see. I'm wondering why anyone is being charged. How did they decide who to blame? Rock, paper, scissors? Well, no, because everybody in the house was a police officer, a firefighter, an EMT, or a significant other or familial relation of one of those. And the only person they have left to pin this on is the victim's girlfriend. Now, who else are they going to blame it on? The bodies in the fucking front yard. And again, my theory of this, which has not been disproven by anything, is that she dropped him off like she said she did. She went home, and inside that house, there was alcohol consumed. Something happened. A fight broke out. He took a few punches to the head because the front of his face, the right side of the front part of his face was swollen. He said his eyes were bulging. He had significant bruising, and he had a spider web fracture on the back of his skull. So I'm thinking there was a fight. The German Shepherd in the house, who didn't like strangers much, was protecting the homeowner, because the homeowner may have been involved in the fight. And whilst he was being punched in the head, the dog scratches or bites his arm. He falls backwards and hits his head on a hardwood floor or a concrete floor or whatever. And then they go, oh shit, what do we do? And they chuck his body outside in the snow and blame it on the wife, who who was drunk driving. That's my theory, and I've seen nothing to cast any doubt on my story yet. So I think this is the, oh my God, we accidentally killed one of our own police officers. What do we do? Let's blame it on his ex, well, on his current girlfriend. That's what I think. All right, we are back, ladies and germs.
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
All right, so Mr. Jackson, let's mark for identification the items that you told us about at sidebar.
First in order would be do you want me to describe them for the record, Your Honor?
No,
Uh,
so they're not to be put up on the screen.
These are 4 items. One of them,
So don't describe them. I need to see them. So let's bring them up, mark them for then Clerk. Then you'll get them back. But I need these marked for identification, and I need to see them.
Her accent is just borderline
So
heavy
we'll-
Boston accent. It's just normal, but it's borderline heavy.
All right.
Blame it on the rain. Wow, there's a throwback song I haven't thought of in about 35 years. See, we need Bernice to be the arbiter of what is considered a heavy Boston accent versus just a normal Boston accent. I mean, it doesn't have to be like full on like Southie that never left South Boston, but just, you know, like borderline needed translator. What are you on about, Ozzy? Not described or on screen. I'm thinking softcore porn. Are we talking about the pictures?
Okay, so we have 4 pieces of paper marked for identification that appear. You got these off of social media sites, Mr. Jackson?
that's correct.
Okay. When did you get these?
I think these might be
I couldn't
pictures
tell you
like
the
we
exact date, but it's
just
been-
saw of
we
her.
Probably had them for between 6 months and a year.
All right. And Commonwealth, you've not seen these before?
No, Your Honor.
Right.
Are you
So
sad
we'll
you
talk
haven't
about
seen these
Rule
before?
14 in a little bit, but we'll bring the witness in. You can ask her questions, Mr. Jackson, about her vacation that you mentioned, the drinking that you talked about, the relationship
Yep.
with Ms. Albert. I've forgotten the first name already. And
Caitlin,
and about the house. So you can
I'm
ask
pretty
her
sure
questions
that
about that.
one of those pictures
And let's see, you
was the
can
one
show
we
her
just
these
saw.
exhibits or these marked for identification if you need to. You may have trouble actually getting those into evidence, but I'm going to let you find out. You can ask her to identify them, how long ago they were, things like that.
thank you.
No, Lynn, it wasn't a gash in
All
the
right,
back
could
of
we
his
bring in
head.
Ms.
It was
McLaughlin,
like a
please?
spider
Yes.
web like fracture, like a radiating
And Commonwealth,
fracture.
you just saw these today. I'm sorry, I don't remember if I asked you that.
Yes, and yes.
And you were objecting that, you objected at sidebar that these come in at all?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, tough shit. She opened the
Oh,
door
here's
by
the fourth
saying
one,
she
I'm
was
sorry.
just an acquaintance.
Mr. Jackson, here's the last one.
My laptop crashed and I lost my bingo card. Oh no. Well, click and make a new one.
All right, so Ms. McLaughlin, Mr. Jackson's going to be allowed to ask you questions outside the presence of the jury, and you're still under oath. and
Okay,
you have
the
to answer
jury's
them
not here
truthfully,
yet.
Okay.
All right. No jury yet.
Ms. McLaughlin, when, just briefly as a predicate, when you stepped out, I want to make sure we're very clear. Did you have a conversation with anybody from the Commonwealth between the time you walked out of court and just now?
Just about if I needed a drink of water or to use the
Mhm.
restroom.
So yes, you
Nothing
did.
about the substance of your testimony?
No.
Ms. McLaughlin, I asked you before we broke if you know who Caitlin Albert is.
Yes.
You said that you went to high school with somebody by that name, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
You in fact know that person as a friend, correct?
I know her.
She's more than an acquaintance.
I would say she's an acquaintance. She's not a close friend.
Dude,
She
if
a
they're
group of friends of yours?
We have mutual friends.
How
if
long have
they're
you known her?
asking questions like that, the answer is yes.
Probably since high school.
When you say, and I don't want to ask your age, I wouldn't do that. How many years, how long of a span of years have you known her?
Since high school, so maybe 10.
And you know her family, generally?
I don't.
You don't know anything about her family?
I don't know her family.
Have you ever been to her house?
Not that I recall ever being there.
He's
Not
asking these
recall or you
because
haven't?
he's going to
It's two
prove it.
different things.
I don't recall ever being there.
Okay, so you might have been there, you just don't recall.
I don't recall ever being there.
If I were to ask you if you have ever been to her house, yes or no, you cannot answer that because you don't know. You cannot recall, correct?
She knows she's fucked right here. She knows now.
I would say, I would lean towards no. I have no recollection of ever being at her house.
Girl, you're going down hard on this. Ooh. Well, hey, phrasing.
Phrasing.
Are you friends with her on social media?
Yes.
May I approach her on her?
Yes.
May I approach her with all these pictures of her at the Albert home?
Can you do me a favor and take a look at the first document? What does that document appear to be?
It says Caitlin's friends.
What does it look like? That's a printout of.
I'm sorry.
What does that look like? It's a printout of. Does that look like Facebook or one of the social media apps?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Some social media.
Okay. Under Caitlin's friends, do you see your handle, for lack of a better phrase?
I do.
Okay. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you look at the next photograph?
Oh, no.
Before we talk about that next photograph, which is, I should go in order for the record, Your Honor. The first one was H. Before we talk
She's
about
like, oh,
I,
shit.
which is the next photograph, how long have you been social media friends, quote, friends with Caitlin Albert?
I don't know.
More than 5 years?
Probably.
More than 8 years?
I don't know.
The second photograph, or the second document appears to be a photograph. It's I, is that right?
Yes,
Do you see yourself in that photograph?
I do.
You see Caitlin in that photograph?
Yes. Oh, she's looking hard. Yeah, you do. You see her.
I do.
When was that photograph taken?
I have no idea.
Where was that photograph taken?
I don't know.
You have no idea how long ago that was?
Oh, bullshit.
I don't.
What was the event that was depicted, or that is depicted in that photograph?
I don't know.
You can show me a picture
Is that
from
local?
40
Or
fucking
was that
years
on a trip
ago of
somewhere?
me, and I'll tell you where I was and what I
I
was
don't know.
doing at that time.
Probably local. If it's a beach, I don't remember. I've never been away to a beach on vacation with all of these people, so probably local.
When we say local, let's talk about local. I don't mean, we may have different definitions. Where would that be? What beach? I'm not as familiar with the location.
I'm not sure.
Maybe on the Cape?
Possibly.
Do you recognize some of the other folks in that photograph?
I do.
Matter of fact, there's a lot of people in that photograph, right?
There's a lot of people in it.
Did you take a trip with all those people at some point in the past?
Take a trip.
To the beach?
Did I go to the beach at some point with these people? Yes.
Okay. When did you go to the beach with all those folks?
I don't know. I don't know when this picture is from.
Have you
It
gone?
seems old to me, but
Well, you can see yourself. I mean,
yeah.
What was that? Did you say it seems old to you?
Yeah, to me.
Okay.
This isn't like a recent to me.
how old do you think that photograph is?
I don't know. It could be around high school. I'm not sure.
And I know Mr. Jackson didn't want to ask you how old you are. When did you get out of high school?
2014.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
So could that
It
have
was
been
so fucking
around
old.
2014?
It could be.
So you've known Caitlin for at least that long.
Yeah.
And when I say travel, I mean travel outside of Canton, gone places with her, correct?
Yes.
Posed for photographs with her,
Yes.
with other folks.
Yes.
Looks like socializing and partying, correct?
Looks like socializing.
Maybe a small vacation.
I've never been on vacation with a big group of people like this.
I wish the
That doesn't
jury
look
was
like
seeing this.
What would you call that if that's not like a mini vacation?
A day at the beach.
A day at the beach. Okay, so maybe a day day.
If you don't
Day
know
vacation.
which beach it
Sure.
was, how do you know it was a day? Maybe it was
The
down
next photograph.
in Florida or somewhere.
Jay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I do need to remind myself.
Jesus. Oh, she's
That photograph looks a little older, correct?
They both look old to me. I don't know when they're from.
old.
I'm going to ask you the same questions about that. These aren't trick questions. I don't want to waste your time. What's that from?
I don't remember specifically what or where this is.
I've got
You see yourself
booze
in the
that old.
photograph?
I do.
You see Caitlin in the photograph?
I do.
You're all posing for the camera, correct?
Yes.
What's the location?
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't.
This is yet another socializing event with Caitlin that you can't recall.
I don't know where this is
Is that-
exactly.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your words. Go ahead.
I don't know where this is exactly.
So you've had so many socializing events with Caitlin and other folks that you can't pinpoint this one as opposed to any of the others that you've had.
Ooh,
No,
good question.
I'm saying I can't. These photos are old. I don't know. I don't remember where these were or the circumstances around them. That's what I'm saying.
You see how you're dressed in that photo?
Yes.
You see how you see the other friends that are there with you?
look again. You can show me
Yeah.
a picture
How
from
many-
10
how many
years,
people do
any
you estimate are in
random
that
picture
photo?
of me from 10 years ago,
Do you
and I'll
want me
tell
to
you
count
who
how many people?
I was with, where I was, and
I
what I
don't
was
have the
doing.
photo in front of me, so just give me is it more than 5,
12
12 people?
ish.
Do you recognize those dozen people?
I do.
Did you go on a day trip with those dozen people?
Yeah, possibly.
When?
I don't know.
Where?
I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't remember.
How many times have you gone on day trips with those dozen people?
I don't know.
How about turning back to photograph I? How many times have you gone on day trips and socialized with those number of people? So it's like probably double that, 20 or 25 people.
I don't know.
That's a big group of friends of yours that includes Caitlin Albert, right?
A big group of mutual friends.
So it's not just that she's a mutual friend, she's a friend. Isn't that right?
Yes.
As I said before,
Yes.
I
Dude, just say yes. Don't make it worse.
I would consider myself more of an acquaintance. We have mutual friends. I wouldn't consider her a close friend, but yeah, I mean that would be my answer.
Basically grew up with her, went to high school with her.
I didn't grow up with her. I went to high school with her.
When I say grow up with her, I mean you grew up in the same town as her, right?
Grew up in the same town.
Went to the same high school as she did,
Yes.
socialized with the same friends
That's
as she
growing
did,
up, girl.
Yes.
went on day trips with her,
Yes.
Yes.
and have all the same friend group. Right?
I don't know that we have all the same friend group. These are people that we're both friends with.
But you don't consider her anything more than just an acquaintance.
I think I described it to you.
The answer to my question is you don't consider her to be anything more than an acquaintance.
I wouldn't consider her to be a close friend.
Oh, she didn't say
Let's take a
close
look at
friend.
the last
He
photograph.
said friend. See, if the jury was here, they would be game over for the prosecution. The jury's not seeing this. The jury
Describe
needs
what's
to
in that
see this
photograph.
shit.
It's a picture of me. Caitlin is in it, and seems to be other people in it as well.
May I approach?
Yes.
Oh man. See, you just make it worse when you pull this bullshit because literally everyone, including yourself, knows you're full of
Wanna
shit.
drop it on you?
And court clerk
That's a
there,
photograph.
she looks like the chick from Baby Reindeer, and she's starting to fucking freak me out.
Caitlin, and I'm also in it.
And you're doing what in the photograph as it relates to Caitlin?
It seems like I'm kind of kneeling down next to her.
Touching her?
Can I see that for just a minute?
I want to see it too. I want to see her kneeling down, touching her friend.
I'm sorry, can you show me you?
I want to see her kneeling down, touching her friend. Show me.
So just for the record, may I approach one more time?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look at that one more time.
Eric Huntley asks, why is the jury not present? I'm not sure. They didn't say why, but it's either one, they're trying to put a foundation for introducing these photographs showing that she was actually very good friends with the daughter of the cop whose house the body was found in, or to impeach her savagely with no lube.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but probably one of those reasons.
Yes.
Bathing suits?
Yes.
And you're giving some sort of a sign with your left hand?
Thank you, Eric.
No, I'm not.
I'll see you
Is
soon.
that somebody else's hand that I saw? Maybe that's Caitlin's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have the photograph in front of me. I don't have it committed to memory. Looks like that's a photograph that you and Caitlin posed for together, correct?
It seems like it's a close-up of a bigger, like a picture. It seems to be zoomed in on a group of people.
Which was posted on social media.
Okay.
Is that right?
Are you telling me that?
I'm asking you that. You ever seen that posted on social media?
I don't recall seeing this picture, but if it was on social media, then okay.
How long ago was that picture taken?
I don't know.
Who took the picture?
I don't know.
Where were you when the photograph was taken?
Probably at a beach if we're wearing bathing suits.
Probably at a beach or at a beach?
Well, I can't see a beach in the picture. We're in bathing suits.
Oh, beach,
It could be at a
please.
beach.
Right. Do you recognize the bathing suits that you're wearing in the photograph?
No,
You literally don't even recognize your own outfit?
no,
So that doesn't help define where you were and when that photograph was taken?
no, sir.
No woman on earth believes
Do any of
you.
these photographs remind you that you've been to Caitlin's house at some point in your friendship with her?
No,
Has Caitlin ever been to your house?
not to my recollection.
When was the last time you talked to Caitlin?
Last week.
I don't remember exactly.
Oh, for fuck's
It's
sakes.
probably been a few years.
When was the last time you went to an event, socializing event with Caitlin?
Again, I don't remember exactly.
Did you talk to Caitlin at any point at or around, on or around January 29th, 2022?
No,
When was the last time you had talked to Caitlin before January 29th, 2022?
I don't know.
Would it have been a day before, a week before, a month before?
No, I don't talk to her.
Firefighters,
Like I said, we're not.
they
like,
get amnesia
close
on
friends, so
cross-examination.
It's like pretty infrequent that we would interact. So I don't know when the last time before that.
What about texting or Snapchatting or communicating in that way?
I don't remember.
Would it have been a week before the 29th?
I don't think so.
You don't think so, or you know so?
I don't think so.
What about after the 29th? After you responded to 34?
Hey, mama, what's up?
You ever have any communication with her?
Not that I can recall.
Hey, mama, how's mama
Is
doing?
that
Hope she's
something
doing
that you
great.
think you might remember if you responded to a house of her father where there's a police officer dead or dying on the yard, on the lawn, 30 feet from the front door? You might have had a conversation with Caitlin.
I've never had a conversation with Caitlin about that call or this case.
Did you ever contact any of your other friends about the fact that you responded to Caitlin's parents' house?
No,
Were you ever asked about this relationship that you had with Caitlin Albert, this friendship that you had with Caitlin Albert at or near the time of the 29th of January?
No.
Did you ever disclose to anybody that you had a relationship with Caitlin Albert at or around the time of this event?
No.
When you went to 34 Fairview, you knew that that was the Albert family home, correct?
No.
When did you learn that it was the Albert? You now know that.
I know that now.
When did you find that out?
I don't know. I don't recall. It was some point after. It was, but I don't know when.
Would it have been the next day?
No.
You and Firefighter Flamati and Firefighter Nuttall were all discussing this case pretty intently after this event, correct?
No.
It's not that often in the little town of Canton that a police officer is found dead or dying on another police officer's lawn. Wouldn't you agree with that?
We responded to a medical call, so the
Oh my God, this
conversation,
cross-examination is almost a war crime at this
after
point.
the fact was at the hospital debriefing the call, going over what happened, what we use for equipment, what we need, and just like that was the extent of the conversation.
Would you agree that this case, given its notoriety, is discussed at the fire station almost daily?
I don't know when I'm not there, but it does get brought up.
And obviously the fact that the house belongs to, or belonged at the time, to the Albert family is part of that discussion.
I don't know. Like I said, it gets brought up, but I just avoid it. I don't engage in the conversations.
It was certainly enough of a...
Does she
subject
realize
matter.
this entire line of questioning, this entire embarrassment could have been avoided if she would have said, yeah, we're friends, but we're not that
Cole
close.
Albert,
None of this would have happened.
of your friend Caitlin Albert, right?
Well, at that point, it was on the news consistently, so I don't know where that information was introduced, but
But it was pretty early on after the 29th.
I don't recall when it was known that that was the case.
I mean, you didn't learn that that was the Albert family home last week.
No,
You've known it for going on 2.5 years.
I don't know exactly when
fuck
I
off.
learned that that was the house.
I realize you don't know exactly, Ms. McLaughlin. I'm not asking you the day you learn. I'm asking you, you've known this basically through the lifespan of this case.
At some point after I learned it.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out about how long after, a week after, a month after.
I'm not sure.
But it was more toward January 29th than it was yesterday, correct?
Correct.
This is so stupid.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I need to go double up on my blood pressure meds. Chaos coordinator, member for 18 months. I'm sure even the judge is holding herself from yelling, bitch, please. Yeah, pretty much. She fooled exactly 0 people in that courtroom. And as I just said, this entire thing would go away if she had just said, yeah, we're friends. I've known her since high school, but we're not that close.
One other, just a couple of brief questions. Do you know any of Caitlin's siblings?
No,
You don't know Brian Albert Jr.?
no,
You know any of her extended family that might be a little closer in age to you, like Colin Albert?
no,
You ever met any of them?
not that I recall.
Not that you recall, or no?
I don't remember meeting any of them.
Your Honor, that's all I have right now.
All right, Mr. Lally, any questions?
Sure. Just a few, Your Honor.
I hope we get to hear all of that again in front of the jury. I really do. That'd be awesome. Dude, Captain Alopecia, you just need to shave that little tuft of injustice on your head.
I'm sorry.
You're not friends with Caitlin Albert, is that correct?
I would say she's an acquaintance,
For
not a close friend.
You were shown some photographs of you in a fairly large group with Caitlin Albert, correct?
Yes.
You don't know when those were, correct?
I don't know exactly.
You don't know where you were when those were taken, correct?
No, not exactly. They seem old.
And just to back up, you knew her in high school, but you weren't friends in high school, right?
I would categorize our relationship as always being just acquaintances. I knew her. We had some mutual friends, but we were never close friends. We don't have a one-on-one relationship.
And
Prosecutor has
as
no
far as
idea what to
high
do.
school versus post-high school, would you see her more so during high school, the high school years, or after you graduated?
Well, probably more in high school just because you're there every day. But then afterwards, yeah, it was only here and there. Like I said, like mutual friends. So maybe events for mutual friends.
What, if anything, can I do to save this case?
And to be clear, and I think you made reference to it, but that last photograph that's marked as K, that seems to be a cropped or sort of zoomed in of a larger photo. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, as far as each of those photos you were shown, you're present in a photo with Caitlin Albert in a much larger group, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever hung out or socialized with Caitlin Albert outside of the setting of a large group?
No.
You've never been to her house before that date of January 29th that you know of, correct?
Correct.
She's never been to your house that you know of, correct?
Correct.
Now suddenly she has different recollections, of course.
Now, as far as that first one, that's as far as
I'm sorry I didn't put completely batshit
as
crazy
friends.
witness on the bingo card.
And without sort of doing it, I'm sort of putting that in third quotes. How many friends would you say you have on social media in total?
I don't know. Maybe over 500. I don't know.
And
Well,
of
you got
those 500
501
people, How many
now.
of those 500 people would you consider actual friends?
Much less than that. Less than 10.
All right, why don't we wrap this up, Mr. Lally?
Sure. Just
See, it's
when it
not.
comes to that
She
day
doesn't
that
just
you
say that to the
responded,
defense.
you're working with the fire department, you responded to a call on January 29th to a home, or as you say, to somewhere on the side of the road. Did you have any idea whose house that was adjacent to where the treatment was concerned with regard to your patient?
No.
I have no.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
That's what's going to happen.
So there was an objection that this was in violation of Rule 14 to admit these exhibits, Mr. Lally. That's what you said, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I agree. So the exhibits don't come in, but based on this voir dire and the answers, I'm going to give you some leeway on exactly what you did. Okay. The relationship, the socialization and the extent of it, friends on social media, those areas. You didn't quite get everything that you mentioned at sidebar you thought you'd get. So that's not coming in.
So
If you
stay within the parameters.
So why don't you come over here then, just because?
All right. I'm looking up criminal procedure rule 14, pre-trial discovery. 14B, I think she said. Disclosure of information and witnesses. Within 7 days of service of the defendant's notice of alibi, the Commonwealth shall serve upon the defendant a written notice stating the names and addresses of witnesses upon whom. Okay, that's not what this one is. So basically, I guess they're arguing that these pieces of evidence weren't filed in a timely manner. No, I don't. I think she's correct. I think she's correct because you have a deadline for submitting documents before trial, so there's like no surprises. So I think Rule 14 deals with the pre-trial discovery or disclosing evidence to the other party. And I think that the objection was made. These photographs, these things weren't provided in time, in a timely manner. So therefore, these should not be allowed in evidence. And I think the judge is correct if that's my understanding of what the rule says. And because the actual evidence themselves can't be let in, she's still letting the defense cross-examine her on ask the same questions he just asked, but without the photographs to back it up. So it's not a bias thing. It's a rule thing. There are rules. Rules have deadlines, and it's just you do it or you don't. I don't think this is not an example of the judge being biased. It's her sticking to the rules of evidence. Yeah, don't get hung up there. Ways these exhibits can be entered, and the judge is leaving the possibility open if a pattern develops. Have patience. Yeah, she could, if she says something like, "I've never seen her in my life," or "We've never had a picture taken together," or "We've never had a picture on a beach taken together," something like that. Then they can go, "Oh, well, wait a minute. Let's look at this." Ozzy says, "I concur. Judge ruling was accurate under 14B. They must have fucked up and discovered." I think so too. So continuing duty to disclose, failure to comply. Upon failure of either party to comply with the requirements of this rule, the judge may exclude the testimony of any undisclosed witnesses, exceptions. This it's like alibi witness there. Mental health issues. I'm just kind of quickly scrolling through B. Assuming I'm even looking at the right thing, it seems to be applicable. All right. So if anybody has joined us late and downloaded the bingo card, here is the whatchamacallit. Here's the answers that we have so far for the bingo card. Judge calls for sidebar. Check. These are the ones you should check off on your bingo card if you've downloaded the bingo card late. Judge calls for sidebar, obviously the free space. Firefighter witness. Lip smacking witness. She smacked her lips a few times. Ceiling Dion, the ceiling fan. We named the ceiling fan Ceiling Dion. Dog cam. We've obviously got the doggo cam unleashed here. Admission of a lie. He's got the witness to admit that she lied. She lied. We've had a what if any statement from the prosecutor, and the lawyer calls for sidebar. That's what we've got so far. All right, now I think I'm going to bring the jury in, and he's going to be allowed to ask essentially the same questions he just asked, but without the physical photograph to back it up.
If you all think they're right outside the door, you're mistaken.
Please be seated.
Yeah, we've actually only had one what if. It might feel like more, but we've only had one what if. She admitted that her testimony has evolved since yesterday. He got her to at least say that her testimony has evolved. I'm calling that a lie.
Do you need any more?
He was generous, didn't call it a lie. He just said her testimony evolved. Oh, let's see what we got here. Bernice Conklin, new member. Bernice, new member again, or have you not ever been a member? Welcome to the Clean and Sober crew. I thought you'd been a member. Anyway, Britt Cormier with the $10 says it looks old to her because she's young. She's around 28, so 10 years is a long time ago. When you're on the other side of 50, 10 years is not that long ago. Just fact. True, and fuck off, Britt. Don't make me cry. Tanny, what's up, Tanny Simmons? 2 Tanny days in a row. What's up, girl? So glad you're here. Does it matter how many friends? I mean, how many of those friends on SoMe do you have multiple photos with? Silly. Right. And seriously, show me any woman on planet Earth that can't tell you exactly, that would just look at her, the outfit she was wearing. Forget the friends who she, just the outfit she's wearing, and not be able to tell you exactly where she was, what time of day it was, what time of year it was. I mean, hell, if I can do it, and my memory sucks ass. Women don't forget that shit. Thank you so much, Tammy Simmons. And Rhonda Crum says, hostile witness for sure. A hostile witness is when your own witness goes rogue. It's when your own witness refuses to play that you can ask the court to designate them as a hostile witness, which allows you to cross-examine them essentially and ask leading questions and things. This wouldn't be a hostile witness case because it's still the prosecution's witness, not the defense's witness. She's just being a bitch. Daily Quick Bite says, Legal Vices, you're not drunk. She looks like she would get full at a party. We're talking about why we couldn't remember photographs. When I'm that's when I'm hypersensitive to. There's a lot of photographs that I hope never see the fucking light of day because I was drunk when they were taken. I'm much more aware of the photographs that are taken when I was liquored up than when I'm not. Hayden sent you a message. If you want to join, let me know. As long as you're staying up at a ridiculous hour. Oh my Lord. Fuck yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I can't tell you all the arguments that I had with my ex-wife. I'm like, okay, but you know, this is what oh yeah, well remember like 5 years ago on Friday the 13th and on this year when you said this and then I said this and then oh yeah. Women don't forget shit. It's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, like remember like 17 years ago when you said this? No. But oh yeah, women know. Women know. We got 684 people here and 404 likes. Remember, people, to hit that like button. Please do me that quick little favor. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I would be honored to have your subscription. And take our like and subscribe button. We've only had one what if any question from the prosecutor. Of course, he didn't ask that many questions, so there is that. If we get another, I don't know if we're going to get another witness today or not, but if we get another witness, I'm sure we'll see the what if any count skyrocket.
So jurors, from time to time, there are things that I need to discuss with the lawyers, as you saw. We try and do it as quickly as we can. It's in an effort to make sure that what you see and hear in this case is appropriate for you to see and hear. So sometimes we spend a little time now that will save us a lot of time later. So we do appreciate your patience. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McLaughlin.
Here we go. Get it on.
When we last left off, I was asking you about your relationship with Caitlin Albert. You recall that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I want to ask you a few more questions about that. You and Caitlin Albert have known each other for how long?
Since high school.
Which is, give me a span of time.
So probably about 10 years.
You have traveled with Caitlin Albert and friends. When I say traveled, I don't mean to exotic locations. I mean day trips, etc.
Yes.
You have a group of mutual friends together, correct?
We have mutual friends, correct.
Those mutual friends have gone on day trips with you and Caitlin Albert involved?
Correct.
On more than one occasion, as a matter of fact?
Correct.
On many occasions, matter of fact?
I don't know.
Be careful.
More than 5?
I don't know.
More than 10?
I don't know.
You've seen photographs of you with Caitlin Albert on some of these day trips, correct?
Yes.
You've seen at least 3 of those photographs.
I only counted
Yes.
1. Are you sure we had 3?
You're friends with Caitlin Albert on social media?
Yes.
Other than the 3 photographs that you've seen, we just talked about, there have been other events that you've been at with Caitlin Albert that weren't necessarily photographed, or we don't have those photographs, correct?
Probably.
You know that Caitlin Albert is the same Caitlin Albert that's the daughter of Brian and Nicole Albert, as you sit here.
Yes, as I sit here today, yes.
And you know that Caitlin Albert also has siblings, Brian Albert Jr., correct?
As I sit here today, yes, I know that.
And you also know, as you sit here today, that 34 Fairview was, at the time of January 29th, 2022, the Albert home, correct?
I know that as of today.
You didn't know this before today? Today is the day you found out? That's what you just said. Words mean things.
You indicated, let me rephrase that. When you showed up at 34 Fairview that morning, did you recognize that address or recognize the home as being that of Caitlin Albert's?
No.
You have since learned that that was Caitlin Albert's home.
As I know that now.
Okay, put it a 3.
And you gave your original statement to Trooper Proctor the next day.
Chupacabra.
Yes.
And from that day to this day, or let's take yesterday, from that day to yesterday, you learned that 34 Fairview was the Canton Albert family home, correct?
You're asking if I know from...
Between those 2 dates.
Yes.
Between the time you spoke with
Yes.
Proctor in this report till yesterday when you testified, you now know that that's the Albert home.
Yes.
And you also indicated that between that report that you gave to Trooper Proctor, that statement that you gave to Trooper Proctor, and yesterday's testimony,
Hey, Chupacabra.
your statement has evolved. You've already admitted that, correct?
I don't think I agreed with you on that.
It's changed. It's different.
I've always testified to I feel as though my testimony has been consistent.
I appreciate how you might feel. I'm just interested in the actual facts. You didn't tell Trooper Proctor anything about this officer questioning my client. Correct?
Objection.
So I'm going to see counsel at sidebar because I think this morphed into a different.
Oh, yeah. She's like, uh-oh. Uh-oh, this is morphing into something. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, biatch. All right, we got 711 people here in chat right now. Look, I seriously want to thank each and every one of you here in chat right now, because there's over 700 of you that could be anywhere on planet Earth doing anything, watching any channel, doing anything, going anywhere, but you've chosen to spend your time with me, and I take none of you for granted. I seriously, sincerely appreciate you all being here and you watching me and spending time here with me in chat. You guys are awesome. Seriously, each and every one of you, 709 people now. Thank you. And if you like what you see, please hit the like button. And if you feel like you want to see more, hit
The
subscribe.
statement that you gave to Trooper Proctor is not
Thank
the
you.
same as the statement that you gave to this jurors yesterday.
Trooper Proctor.
Yes.
I just told me that.
Yes.
What we need a bingo thing for Legal Vice's size. Not size, size. Because I got the size. And sometimes the size, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, Judge, I told you yesterday to hit that chair with some WD-40.
When you did make this statement to Trooper Proctor,
Damn it.
your visit to Canton PD was coordinated by another officer to put you and Trooper Proctor together for the interview, correct?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall being contacted by a completely different officer to say, hey, Trooper Proctor wants to talk to you, come on into Canton PD, let's have an interview?
I don't remember exactly how the interview was set up.
So that was my next question. You may have
They
just told me
don't.
this.
That
Do you have
is
any
not the
recollection
jury. That
who
is
set
the
that
gallery.
interview up?
I
The
don't.
jury is never,
Then Kevin
ever
Albert,
shown on
sound
camera.
familiar?
No,
You know Kevin Albert?
no,
You know him to be a police officer at Canton PD?
no,
You know him to be the brother of Brian Albert?
Objection.
no.
The objection sustained.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay.
The
Well,
point is to
you
show
need
that she's really, really close to the family where the body was found. The family that owns the house where the body was found. She's friends with the daughter of the owner of the house where the body was found.
You went to high school with Caitlin Alford, correct?
Yes.
And could you describe
Nervous
the nature of your relationship, if
All right.
any, with Caitlin?
Nervous
I
prosecutor
would
cough.
describe it as we're not close friends.
All right, real quick, I have to pause this. This is a bingo error for those of you playing on the bingo card. It says nervous prosecutor laugh. I meant to say nervous prosecutor cough, and he just did it. So mark that off. Now we'll catch up. Sorry.
I would say we're more acquaintances. We have mutual friends. I don't have a one-on-one relationship with her.
And you were asked some questions about social media, correct?
Yes.
And if you could, or if you could guesstimate about how many friends, and I'm sort of throwing air quotes in there, how many friends on social media would you have?
I don't know, probably 500.
And of those, probably 500
I'm
friends
chewing.
on social media. how
Siren
many of those are
outside of
actual
court.
friends
Put that on your bingo
you
card.
talk to interact with beyond social media?
Much less than that.
Now, prior to, well, let me ask you this. As far as, would you say that you saw Caitlin Albert more so when you were in high school or more so since you have graduated from high school?
I would say probably more in high school because we were there every day. So
And about what year or so was it that you graduated from high school?
2014.
And as far as any sort of photographs that were referenced to you, have you seen those photographs?
Here?
Yes.
Here today, I saw them.
Do you have any idea where or when those photographs were taken?
I don't remember.
And of those photographs, it's not just you and Caitlin Albert in a photograph, is that correct?
Correct.
So a larger group of people, is that correct?
Correct.
When you were asked about sort of these day trips, they were sort of trips specifically on a day to a beach, it looks like, correct?
Correct.
And to a beach with a larger group of people, is that correct?
Correct.
And with reference to Caitlin Albert specifically, have you ever socialized with her in any setting beyond a setting that contained a large group of people?
No.
Now, with respect to, you say high school, you graduated from Canton High School, correct?
I need
Correct.
cop witness for
And you
bingo
grew up in Canton, is that correct?
or scratch
Yes.
marks.
And did you know Caitlin Albert before you attended Canton High School?
No, that's probably when we first really interacted. It was high school.
And essentially, you live within the town I'm sorry, you work within the town that you.
In the
grew up
town
in,
where I
correct?
was born,
Correct.
lived a
And is that
man.
abnormal
Sailed
from
the
a civil service
seas.
perspective?
No, from a civil service perspective, you're given more points for residency. So it's actually, I would say, preferred, or you're placed higher on the list if you have residency in that town.
So it's actually preferred and more common than uncommon as far as growing up in a town and then working in that same town in a civil service position like a firefighter.
Yes.
Now, during the course of the time that you've been on the Canton Fire Department, have you received calls to residencies or other places or even patients that you either knew or were familiar with?
Yes.
Would that be a reason for you to not go on a call?
No.
And you have an obligation, wouldn't you say, to respond to a call when a call is made and you're on duty in that station house, correct?
Yes.
The objection sustained. Ask the question differently.
As far as when you're on duty as a firefighter at a particular station house, you get a call, what, if any, choice do you have to respond to any particular call?
Back to the what if any's.
I don't have a choice. I just have to respond to the call.
And then prior to that date of January 29th, had you ever been over through socialization or otherwise Caitlin Albert's house?
Not that I ever remember.
Has she ever been over your house?
No.
And again, had you ever socialized with her outside of a large group of people?
No.
When you responded on that morning, just after 6 a.m., the house of 34 Fairview Road, did you know who lived?
No.
It's my emotional support potato.
During the
Strawberry.
time since January 29th of 2022, have you ever spoken to Caitlin Albert about what happened that morning in front of 34 Fairview Road?
No.
Now, you were asked some questions on cross-examination about knowing sort of Caitlin Albert's parents' names or siblings' names or things of that, correct?
Right.
And prior to January 29th, you didn't know any of those names, is that correct?
No.
You learned of them subsequently, is that correct?
Yes.
May we approach this briefly?
Okay.
Approach briefly. And while they're doing that, Island with the $5. Hey, chat. Once you're on the stand, too late to lock down your social media. Got to do it before. Just saying, for no particular reason at all. Hashtag life hack. Yeah, even if you do lock it down, they can still find it. So there you are. People are thinking that like this is the jury up there to the left here that you see in the background. That's not the jury. That's the audience. That's the gallery. They never, ever, ever, ever show the jury on camera. The jury is actually on the side the camera's on. The jury is behind the camera. This is just a smaller courtroom. They had it. They originally were scheduled to be in another courtroom, but the way they had it, the way it was situated was the jury couldn't see the witness's face, and the defense complained that not being able to see the facial expressions and reactions and body language of the witness would violate their rights to confront their accusers and things like that. So they said to preserve her constitutional rights, we need to move this to another courtroom where the jury has full and unfettered view of the witnesses. And so they moved to this smaller courtroom. So what you're seeing behind, like in the background right now, is the audience. The jury is only shown on the Young Thug trial. That trial is such a shit show. Okay, peeps, what do you got here? I'm cleaning. I'm going to have to put my earbuds in when I vacuum the living room rug. All right. All right, we're scrolling through chat here, see what's up. Lots of yellow submarine discussions. Not supposed to see the jury, but Law and Crime has messed that. Yeah, they have. They've messed that up before. Yeah, this is the family. That's the brother of the victim. He was the first witness they called, and I'm assuming that's either his wife, sister. I'm not sure. She doesn't look like the witness that was called. Obviously, that's the defendant. And sitting to the right of the victim's brother is the father. Hey, defense counsel, welcome back to the table. Tuft of injustice.
So, Ms. McLaughlin, you learned of those other
Dude, just
people's
shave
names
the
within
hair.
the Albert family subsequent to your response to this call on January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you learn of those through sort of various news or media reports in relation to this case. It's not something that you had any conversations with anybody about, correct?
Correct.
I have nothing further.
All right.
All right.
Your Honor, if I may, I have.
Okay. Okay.
You indicated, Ms. McLaughlin.
The judge sigh.
500 friends. On
Mark
social
off
media.
Judge Mike sigh
Couple
on
quick
your bingo
questions
card.
about that. Of those 500 friends on social media, how many of those have you taken day trips with?
I don't know.
How many of those have you gone to the beach with?
I don't
know.
How many of those have you posed for photographs with?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Keep saying I don't know. It makes you look smart and
How many of
honest.
those have you posed for photographs in swimwear with?
I don't know.
How many of those have you been photographed with your arm around while that other friend is drinking a beer?
Sustained.
Mhm.
Sustained.
Ms. McLaughlin, all of those things that I just mentioned, you have done with this Caitlin Albert.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
all I have.
Okay. All right, Firefighter McLaughlin, you are all set.
Okay, Judge Mike's eye. We've already got one of those. Bingo! Finally, yay! More bingo.
All right, jurors, we are getting ready to go for our view. So we're about to visit a place which you'll be hearing about some
Well,
more.
Aussie
You've heard
Overlord
about
just joined us in time to end the
And in
show.
court terminology, we call this a view. The purpose of the view is to help you better to understand the evidence, which you'll hear during the trial, and to help you appreciate the location and its surroundings. The view that you will take is a part of this case. The observations that you make while on the view may be used and considered in your deliberations in reaching a verdict. The place that we're going to go, you've seen photos of, you've heard it, it's 34 Fairview Road. The lawyers and I will accompany you on the bus. The attorneys may point out to you the arrangement of the scene and items that they want you to pay special note of, but otherwise they cannot discuss anything in this case in regard to this case, and they can't talk to you. All right, they'll be able to do an opening here, and they'll be able to point these things out. While you're on the view, it's very important that you can't take notes, and you certainly can't use your phones and take photographs. All right, it's really just for you to see. You cannot conduct any independent investigation while we're there or at any time during the trial, as you've been told. You're not to return to the scene or ask anyone else to do it for you until the case is over. So this is your opportunity to take a look when we go. What you are to do on the view may be best summarized in two very familiar words, which is stop and look. Okay. Your responsibility is to see the place, to observe it carefully, and to remember what you see. So during your trip to and from the place that we're going to view, you're not to discuss this case or anything about it among yourselves or with anyone, and you are not to permit anyone to talk with you about the case. You'll be under the supervision of our great court officers at all times, and you'll remain together until you return to court, unless the court officers direct you otherwise. And just so that you know, because some of this came up during our jury selection process, spectators, if there are any, and all members of the press have been ordered to stay 100 yards away from you. All right, so you can go and you can look and take your time looking without worrying about any interference from anyone. All right, so with that, Mr. Clerk, could you swear in, please, the court officer?
Court officers, raise your right hands, please. Do you solemnly swear you will take this jury upon the premises in question and there suffer them to view the same and any property, place, or thing bearing upon the issues on the trial, as they shall seem necessary? That you will not permit the parties to enter in a debate in front of the jury or a person to speak to them, unless it be Adam Lally for the Commonwealth and Alan Jackson for the defendant. They to point out such places or things as they deem expedient for the determination of the issue, and that you will keep the jury together until they shall return into court, except the court shall otherwise order, so help you God. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Lally, do you want to do a short view opening?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right. What is it?
So ladies and gentlemen, as her owner just described, we're about to go to a place. When we arrive there, and at any point in time when we're there, this is not a point where we can have any sort of conversation or back and forth. So all I'm going to be.
If any of you know internet disgrace King Cobra, he looks like King Cobra, kind of.
As you see. And again, as with anything in this case, this is as you find them, as you observe. Okay. So first I'm going to ask you to sort of, when we arrive in a general area, as far as taking note of sort of street names when you're coming into and when you're exiting from this particular area. When we arrive at a specific location, I'm going to ask you to take note of certain things about the roadway. Okay. Certainly any abutments to the roadway, any residences that you observe, the distances between the roadway, and any landmarks or any items that you observe.
I'm not wrong, am I?
Specifically a driveway, specifically a front door, any other sort of items of interest within the front lawn area of that. I'm also going to ask you to take note of the roadway itself, and sort of the width of that roadway, whether or not you find any sort of lanes separating within that roadway, and then the individual width of some of those lanes as well. Lastly, there is also going to be a vehicle as well. And I'm going to ask you to take note of certain things with respect to that vehicle. Okay, with respect to the size of it, with respect to the height of it, with respect to anything that you observe, specifically from front, the side, the back, all of the exterior of that vehicle, and then also some of the interior of that. And specifically, I'm going to ask you to take note of sort of the center console in the front driver's compartment of that vehicle and anything that you observe in that location as well. And that is all I'm asking you to do on this case, and I thank you again for your time and attention.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first time we've been able to speak to you directly, so I want to take the opportunity to introduce myself and thank you for your service and thank you for your time and commitment to
He's
this.
the Barry Scheck-esque lawyer.
A lot of what Mr. Lally just said. There's nothing magical about this other than it gives you perspective. It's an opportunity to introduce you in three-dimensional form to stuff that you've been seeing in two-dimensional form. Photographs, some of the testimony, diagrams that you might see.
So I'm sorry, we're really pointed on what you can say.
What we're going to ask you to do is take special note of the relationships of physical items out of the scene. Much as Mr. Lally just indicated, there are going to be physical things out of the scene. You've heard about a flagpole, a fire hydrant, a house. We're going to ask you to take special note of where those are in relation to other things physically at the scene. That will hopefully, with the court's instruction, give you some assistance in putting together the testimony that you think is relevant, the documents that you think are relevant. And again, to echo what Mr. Lally said, we're going to ask you to look at the roadway, the vehicle, the house, the physical items at the home, and the relationship between and among all of those things to each other. Hopefully, that will give you a very good understanding of what we're dealing with, especially with the exhibits. Thank you.
All right, so folks will be all set. We'll see you at the bus in a little bit.
Just make sure your notebooks are closed.
You
And-
are muted.
Let's say
Goodbye.
goodbye, and let's say hello to the ceiling fan, which we have named Ceiling Dion. This is Ceiling Dion, the ceiling fan. Now, nobody leave because we are going to rewatch the defense's opening statements. So we're gonna rewatch the defense's opening statements because they were fantastic, and I've got fuck all to do. It's midnight on Friday. So and Hayden, Oz, you're a lot of welcome.
G'day.
You joined us just in time.
I was going to say, I mean, until you mentioned you were going to rewatch the opening statements, I was like, damn, I'm glad I haven't taken a sip of this energy drink yet, but I may still have to.
Oh, well, I was watching their opening statements mainly for you.
Oh, appreciate it.
But nobody leave because right now we're going to do this, and I'm going to bring up the opening statements, and we're going to rewatch the opening statements of the defense, not the prosecution, because the prosecution's opening statements was. Oh wait, hang on.
Your Honor, I'm so sorry for the false start. I wanted to make one.
Wait, hang on. Fuck off.
Would be better if I did it over here. I wanted to interpose an objection to.
So I think it would be better if you did it over here.
It's illegal. It's just illegal.
I don't know what you're doing. Come over here and tell me what you're going to do, and then I'll put you back there and do it.
I don't know what he's doing either. All right. Well, we guess we're not leaving anywhere. Anyway, I'm not going to show the prosecution's opening statement because it was boring. It was disjointed. It was even putting the father of the victim to sleep, for Christ's sake. It was weird. And I've described it as I understood every single word he said, and I understood why he was saying it, but it made no sense.
As it relates to the 4 exhibits that the court deemed were not admissible because of a violation of Rule 14, I wanted to elaborate just very briefly.
Just go ahead.
Our objection.
That's strawberry.
We believe that under Rule 14,
Yoda's asleep
we were
on
not obligated to have to present these exhibits to the Commonwealth in discovery. Rule 14 does not require such disclosure when the exhibits are used for impeachment only. And that's exactly what those 4 exhibits were going to be used for and what we intended to
Okay,
use
he's making
for.
this argument so he can preserve an item for appeal. If
I know
necessary.
Caitlin Albert, we've been friends for 10 years. We went to high school together. We've been on day trips together. We've been to the beach together, and we've socialized together. I wouldn't have to show any photographs, but that's not what she said. What she said was, I went to high school with a person named Caitlin Albert, which is a bastardization of the truth. That's not the truth. And those 4 photographs are what got her in the voir dire process, what got her to admit that she in fact does know Caitlin Albert, and those are on a very, very different level than she first suggested. As the SJC has explained in the case of Commonwealth versus Aguiar, Aguiar, at 400 Mass 508, pin site at 513. It's a 1987 case that says the following, and then I'll finish my record. Quote, a defendant has a constitutional right to bring to a jury's attention any circumstance which may materially affect the testimony of an adverse witness, which might lead the jury to find that the witness is under an influence to prevaricate. It matters not that the evidence would reveal an otherwise inadmissible fact, such as the witness's commission of a crime. A judge may not restrict cross-examination of a material witness by foreclosing inquiry into a subject that could show bias or prejudice on the part of the witness, end quote. That's exactly what we believe we were entitled to do with Katie Kaufman as a witness for the Commonwealth. She has bias, or at least the jurors can consider a bias. She has prejudice, the jurors could consider a prejudice because of a pre-existing relationship with Caitlin Albert, about which she was not truthful. So I wanted to make that record and ask the court to reconsider.
I like that argument.
4 exhibits could be introduced. I don't need to make any big deal about it. I don't want to call her back to the stand, but I think the jurors, now having had the description of those photographs, should be able to see them in evidence. And
Okay.
I like his argument.
All right, so that request is denied. The record's clear. So Ms. Reed is not going on this view. She just needs to make sure she's back here by the time we return. So Mr. Yannetti, you're nodding.
Yes,
You will contact her and make sure
understood.
she's back here.
Understood.
Oh, so they're going to come back later?
Apparently.
That's fucking cruel. What the hell am I supposed to do? Whatever. All right. They're sealing Dion again, in case you missed Sealing Dion earlier. That's the best name for a ceiling fan ever. Sealing Dion. Apparently they're coming back today, Kitty. I don't know when, but I'll be fucking asleep, so it doesn't matter. Nicola. Oh, Nicola. How are you doing, Nicola? I really miss talking to you. How are you doing? Jeff, I just love your reactions, lol. Thank you so much for streaming this. Appreciate you. Best place to watch trials. Why am I not a managing mod? I don't have any managing mods anymore, I think. I haven't checked. I think I've gotten rid of all of you. I am the micromanager of this channel. Only I am the manager. I am the god of hellfire. And I bring you fire. Sorry. Great song. All right, people. With 609, don't go anywhere because we're going to rewatch the. All right.
Hey there, Karen Reed trial watchers.
Shut
you know
up,
a lot
shut
of the
up.
trials we cover remind me.
We don't care about you. You suck, lawn cuck. Sorry, Strawberry. Didn't mean to wake you up. Aussie Overlord, and I'm sure a great many of you have not seen the opening statements given by the defense lawyer. Good stuff. While I'm bringing them up, I insist that Hayden, aka Aussie Overlord, grift himself like he's going out of style.
And yet, I am absolutely terrible at grifting.
Do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aussie Overlord on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, pretty much everywhere else. I cover the cases that do not get anywhere near enough attention. Whether it be a sniper taking out a 2-year-old, whether it be the rehash of the Farquharson case now, where the father who drove his kids into a dam is now appealing for the 3rd time to have his murder convictions quashed. Basically, think of a what the fuck sort of stream and turn it up to 11. We just try and cover all of the weird and wacky things that you probably don't hear about in the mainstream media. But yeah, doing more or less trying to do 2 streams a day today, which is more or less burning the candle at both ends, and I think it's just about killing me on it. But yeah, the Overlord peeps. And make sure you throw your shekels at this guy. Where else are you going to get quality trial coverage like this?
And by this guy, he means himself, Aussie Overlord. Make sure you go subscribe to him, like every video he's ever done, and give him lots and lots and lots of super chats, super thanks, and whatnot, because we're trying to get him to Vegas at the end of this month with me. And by the way, again, come on, like 30 of you, stop leaving, people. We're gonna get to the prosecutor's opening statements here in just a minute. We're just kind of flexing our fingers. We're doing squats. We're preventing embolisms from forming in our legs and whatnot. So just chill. We're gonna get to it, but just a heads up, I I will be in Las Vegas from May 25th through May 27th. Along with our very own Mod Flux will be there. Waifu Kron, now known as Moxie Dame Jess, will be there. Ari Jacob is going to be there. Hopefully, Tiffany Fong will be there, who's an amazing based content creator, internet personality, influencer, whatever you want to call, cryptocurrency guru, whatever. Hopefully she will be there. We're probably going to have a Robert Barnes sighting at some point. We're going to go pay homage to the bar where OJ used to be, because Ari was going to hook us up with an interview with OJ Simpson, because we covered the OJ Simpson trial for 18 months, but the fucker couldn't wait 6 weeks to die. So, we're just going to go look at
stop streaming his trial. He was sucking the life energy out of the viewers, and you stopped streaming it, so he carked it.
Yeah, so we're just gonna go watch. We're gonna go pay homage at the chair where he used to sit at the sports bar in Las Vegas. Also, for those of you that are LawTube with Mike fans, I fully plan on at some point meeting up, or at least talking to Kim Blandino, sovereign citizen, true believer extraordinaire in Las Vegas. And we might meet up with one of my good friends who works in the prosecutor's office in Las Vegas in Clark County. We're gonna go visit Zach Bagan's haunted museum, which is there in Las Vegas. If for any of you Ghost Adventures fans out there, but we're gonna have a good time, and we're trying to get Ozzy Overlord there. So subscribe to him and throw all of your money at him. You won't regret it.
I have exactly 7 days to try and work it out, people. So
work it out. We can work it out. We can work it out. Sorry. All right. Now, again, we're going to get back to the trial here, because frankly, the seal has been broken, and I'm just like trying not to urinate on myself. So yeah, Liz Bus, exactly. You click. I have Kim Blandino's phone number. I got it from Mike. I'm going to reach out to him, and we're going to try to meet up with him somewhere at some point if he's not in jail within the next few weeks. We'll hit him and we'll try to do something, because that would be fucking awesome. All right. As I said, we're not going to watch the prosecutor's opening statements because it was weird, it was boring, it was disjointed, nobody cared, and the victim's own father was falling asleep. It was so poorly done that I can't even begin to describe it. I wouldn't unleash that on anybody in Condor. But what we're going to do is we're going to watch like the last 5 or 10 minutes of it, just so you can kind of get a feel for it. And then we're going to follow through and watch the defense lawyer's opening statements, and we'll call it a night. Thoughts on the judge? I think people are shitting on the judge. I like the judge. I think she's good. She's doing her job. She's a little bit like cheese gratery around the edges. She doesn't do her job smooth like a nice creamy yogurt. She's more like a big cheese grater, but she does her job, if that made any sense whatsoever. She's a little rough around the edges in her delivery, but I think she's doing a good, fair job. No, that is not the question. It's just now to pee or later to pee, and now is the answer. With that TMI based, let's bring this up. Present screen, and I shall. Oh, what the hell have I done? Oh, of course, I brought it up in the wrong window. All right. Must control bodily functions for another 30 seconds. And let's see. Live. Boyfriend, cop, whatever. Share screen. Do not leave, peeps. Let's see. We need to. Is this where we need? Yeah, this is where we need to be. Is that where we need to be? That is.
I presume so. You tell me.
All right. I'm just going to hit play here. Like I said, this is the last 5 or 10 minutes of the prosecutor's opening statement, so you get a feel for how ridiculously boring he was. And someone earlier said that replaying the prosecutor's opening statements would be like reading Hegel. I have to take a different opinion of that. Being a philosophy major in my undergraduate age, I happen to think that Hegel is an amazing philosopher, and Hegel's Dialectics is one of the greatest books, one of the greatest philosophical treatises that has ever been written. And it sort of refers to that particular dialectical method of argument employed by 19th century philosophers at large, but Hegel in particular. But you don't care about that shit. I just think it was a poor analogy because I like Hegel. All right, let's go.
Michael Proctor and Sergeant Jerry Mechanic of the State Police. You'll hear from Lieutenant Brian Tulloch. You'll hear some testimony from Trooper Joseph Paul, who's in a specialized unit within the State Police called PAWS for short, but essentially a collision analysis and reconstruction section within the Massachusetts State Police. His examination of the vehicle, his examination of the scene, his examination of specifically some Toyota texture, because Lexus is essentially owned by Toyota or vice versa. So there is some data that he's able to recover from that and back the vehicle up based on its known locations and travel. He cycles, essentially opines, anticipate he'll opine that around 12:45 in the morning, when the vehicle was in front of the residence on Fairview, that for some perceptible period of time, that vehicle travels over 60 feet in reverse at over approximately 24.2 miles per hour. Now, you'll hear testimony, as I said, from a number of different troopers, as well as from a number of different analysts from different labs. Included within that is Ms. Maureen Hartnett, who collected items from the vehicle.
Jesus, that was fast.
Tail lights, sort of housing from that vehicle, pieces of the tail light that were discovered in sort of front grass or street area. There is a specialized team called the CERT team. You'll hear from Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, who has a supervisory role in relation to that. And then later on that day of the 29th, he, along with Lieutenant Tully and a number of different members from his CERT team, were searching for evidence within the mounds of snow in front of that house, as the blizzard is still ongoing at this point.
Mounds and mounds of snow.
Among the items that they locate is a sneaker. When Mr. O'Keefe is transported to the hospital, he's found to only have one sneaker on his feet. They find the other sneaker in that area of the body. They find various pieces of taillight. And as is wont to do, over the course of the following days, the temperatures rise, rainstorm that comes in, and the snow melts. Over those successive days, there are additional pieces of taillights that are eventually discovered in that area of the front lawn in the street. Now, from these different pieces, Ms. Hartnett also locates a cocktail glass that's located on the bumper or the rear area of that scene, and she locates a human hair on the back of that defendant's vehicle as well. Now, the cocktail glass on the bumper, you'll also see surveillance video from the waterfall, and Mr. O'Keefe is observed on that surveillance video essentially walking out of the waterfall with a cocktail glass in his right hand. Same right hand that has...
Hey, I don't need 15 minutes to go to the bathroom.
That has the abrasions and lacerations that are observed by the paramedics, that are observed by the doctors at Good Samaritan, and are observed by the medical examiner as well. You'll hear testimony from another analyst, Christina Hanley, about the forensic consistency between a drinking glass that was in the defendant's bumper and the drinking glass pieces that were found on scene 34th Fairview. You'll hear her testimony in regard to pieces of red and clear plastic that were microscopic in size that were found within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. Consistent, in her opinion, I anticipate she'll testify, with the same pieces of plastic contained within the defendant's taillight. You'll hear from an Ashley Valley, who works for the lab as well.
I'm annoyed that his tires are askew.
Broke the taillight from the scene together.
Was that?
I said I'm annoyed that his tire is off center. It's askew at the not.
Well, it's been off center apparently since 1983.
Over that taillight housing, finding them to be consistent with each other as well. You'll hear testimony from Andre Porto, who's essentially DNA analyst for the lab. And samples that were DNA samples that were taken from the taillight, from the clothes of Mr. O'Keefe, and the broken drinking glass that were consistent with Mr. O'Keefe. Those items were also sent, the taillight pieces, the taillight DNA was also sent to an independent lab, Bodie Technologies, located in Northern Virginia. And you'll hear from an analyst there, Mr. Nicholas Bradford, indicating that the DNA on the defendant's taillight, in his opinion, is consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe, and inconsistent with Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Mechanic, who were the two preliminary investigators and primary investigators when it came to this case. You'll also hear from this test chart from that Bodie Laboratories in regard to some mitochondrial DNA that she examined in regard to that hair that Ms. Hart had found on the Buffalo car, and her opinion that it was consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe as well. Lastly, you'll also hear from Dr. Irene Scortibello and Dr. Renee Stonebridge of the Office of Chief Medical Examiner in regard to their various examinations. Dr. Stonebridge is a neuropathologist. She essentially examines brain findings. Dr. Irene Scortibello is a forensic pathologist.
Portobello Road.
Autopsy and medical examination of Mr. O'Keefe's body. You'll hear about the variety of sort of injuries that she observed over Mr. O'Keefe's body. In particular, you'll hear testimony in regards to lacerations to the right back of the scene. You'll hear testimony in regards to an initial sort of skull fracture that occurs to the back of his head, and then sort of a radiating skull fracture that goes throughout his skull, which then leads to a subdural hemorrhage, or essentially bleeding on the brain and then swelling of the brain, which then causes a condition called ecchymosis, which then sort of leads to the swelling of both of Mr. O'Keefe's eyes that was observed by the initial response. You will hear various testimony about sort of issues in regard to his pancreas, how that's indicative of hypertension. Now, again, as I said, this is the first of 2 times that I have an opportunity to address you directly. And I thank you very much for your attention today, and I thank you for your participation and your close attention as we go through all of the witnesses and all the evidence in this case. That second time that I do get to address you, what I'll be asking you, based on the evidence, and again, as the board has instructed you, you are the sole arbiters of the facts of this case. You are the ones who find what the facts, I reiterate that, facts, and what the evidence demonstrates in this case. What I submit to you at that time, that second time, is that the only true and just verdict based on that is that the defendant, Karen Reed, is guilty of murder in the 2nd degree, striking the victim, Mr. O'Keefe, with a car, knocking him back onto the ground, striking his head on the ground, causing the bleeding in his brain, swelling, and then leaving him there for several hours in a blizzard, with temperatures in the teens, wind swirling around, snow piling up on his body until she comes up with Mrs. McCabe and Mrs. Roberts just after 6 a.m. And that she is also guilty of vehicular manslaughter, operating under the influence of liquor, and that she is also guilty of liquor after causing death. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lally. Mr. Nettie?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Okay, now see, that was just a few minutes of the prosecution's opening statement. Now imagine that same delivery, that same emotionless droning for about 45 minutes.
Oh, God.
He like, I understood his time. He put together this timeline. He was just like, okay, and then this happened, and then we're going to call this person who's going to testify, and this happened on this date, this happened, and then over here on this date, then something else happened, and then they showed this date, and then we're going to show something about the skull fracture, and then
They're very technical, very clinical, but pretty much said nothing to capture the jury's attention.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, you can see what?
Sorry, the little one just walked in without knocking.
Hey, but like I was saying, I understood. I know the facts of the case, and I understood everything the prosecutor was saying, but there was still something weird about the delivery that just didn't mesh. It just didn't flow. It made me like care less about what he was saying. There was nothing captivating, nothing engaging, nothing that grabbed you and pulled you in and held your attention and said, oh my God, this woman has murdered her boyfriend. She didn't like him. She wanted out. So this night she just chose this random night to kill her boyfriend. She had the perfect opportunity in the snow when everybody else is in the house and he's alone standing there on the street corner, and she can back up into him at speed and run over him with a 6,000-pound vehicle and kill him and then run away and try to make it look like he didn't do any of that. She's like, okay, this happened and that happened and the other thing happened and then other stuff happened and then guilty. Now compare and contrast that with the defense's opening statement. This is the best opening statement by a defense lawyer, probably even a prosecutor, probably including like any lawyer that I've heard in distant memory.
That's some high praise.
No, it is. I mean, it fuck me. I mean, just listen to how it starts, and then it ramps up from there. Here we go, everybody. This is the opening statement of the defense in the Karen Reed murder trial.
Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. And that means that somebody else did. You will learn that it was no accident that John O'Keefe was found dead on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road in Kent on January 29th of 2022. You will learn that at that address lived a well-known and well-connected law enforcement family in Kent.
That right there is better than anything that the prosecution said for 45 minutes. He could have ended right there and been ahead of the game. What do you think about the opening there so far in the first like 5 sentences?
He certainly got his point across. I mean, it's nice that he's enunciating. He's got his vocal projection, which is good, particularly given that the mics are crap. And yes, I'm fumfering because it's literally been 5 sentences. But
and notice again, this is the victim's father and mother here. Mm-hmm. He was asleep, literally. I mean, he was just damn near asleep during the prosecutor's statements. He's already perked up and is listening to the defense counsel's opening statements.
The Alberts. Because the Alberts were involved, and because they had close connections to the investigators in this case, Karen Reed was framed for a murder she did not commit. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. As I previously told you, my name is David Yannetti. I'm an attorney with an office in Boston. Together with attorneys Alan Jackson and Elizabeth Little, it is truly my privilege and my honor to represent Karen Reed during this trial. From a very early juncture in this case, you will question the Commonwealth's theory of the case. You will question the quality of the Commonwealth's evidence. You will question the veracity of the Commonwealth's witnesses. And you will question their shoddy and biased investigation, a faulty investigation that led to Karen Reed sitting here today. You will learn, in short, that the police did no real investigation of this case, and you will question why. You'll question why the investigators had such tunnel vision. You'll question why.
See, and again, I want to pause here to say that this argument of, they focused on one person, they had tunnel vision, is usually a shit argument that the defense is throwing up as a Hail Mary. Like, okay, yeah, they just focused on one person, and it was the wrong guy. Trust us. But he lays down the foundation and the supports for that argument.
They focused solely on Karen Reed, someone with no ties to the Canton Police Department, as opposed to the well-known and well-connected Albert family of Canton, family that was never treated as suspects by the investigators in this case. Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found mortally injured on Brian Albert's front lawn. His body was in full view and almost right below Brian Albert's bedroom window on his front lawn. He was found wearing only one sneaker. You'll learn that Brian Albert was a Boston police officer as well, and that he was a trained first responder. Brian Albert was notified that another police officer was injured and unresponsive on his front lawn, and Brian Albert did nothing. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, and other civilians were on his property that morning after John O'Keefe's body was found. Police, EMTs, firefighters, police cruisers, an ambulance, fire truck, lights flashing, and first responder Brian Albert never came out of his house. Equally important for you will be the fact that the lead homicide investigators never went inside the Albert home that night. You'll learn that Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, is a Canton police officer. It was obvious very early on that the Canton police should not be investigating the death of a man found on the property of the brother of a Canton police officer. So it was decided just about from the start that the Massachusetts State Police should take complete control of this investigation because the Canton police were conflicted out. Now, that sounded good at the time, but you'll learn that two major problems arose. First, despite the fact that they obviously had a conflict of interest, the evidence will show that the Canton police still had their hands in this investigation. You will find it astounding. But Canton police officer Kevin Albert, the reason for the conflict of interest in the first place, was continually updated about the status of this investigation while it was going on. Second, and equally troubling, is that the lead state police detective who was assigned to this case was a man named Michael Proctor.
Michael Proctor.
Michael Proctor, you will learn, is one of the many people in Canton with deep ties to the Albert family. Michael Proctor's own mother refers to the Alberts as the Proctor's second family. His own sister's wedding, Michael Proctor was in the wedding party with Colin Albert. And he sat at the head table of that wedding with members of the Albert family. That's the man who was chosen to lead the investigation into the suspicious death on the property of Brian Albert. That's the man who gave updates to Canton police officer Kevin Albert while the state police were supposed to be investigating what had occurred at his brother Brian Albert's house. You'll learn that right from the jump, Michael Proctor predetermined the outcome of this case. Never stepped foot inside the Albert home on January 29th, 2022. Never checked out whether there were any signs of struggle inside that home. He never called for crime scene technicians and other specialists to look for blood or other trace evidence within the home.
Hayden, what would happen if the cops found the dead body of a police officer in your front yard?
They would tear my house apart looking for evidence.
Never went into the guy's house, never questioned him, never got a search warrant for his house, never did anything with regard to him. The first responder who ignored the fact that there's fucking fire trucks and EMTs and ambulances and police cars out in his front yard. Never went out to look.
Yeah,
it gets better.
Sus at all.
Oh, it gets better. Oh, it
Okay.
gets much better / worse, depending how you look at it.
He never asked Brian Albert for permission to go in the home and take a look around. Michael Proctor never applied for a search warrant to go in that home. Instead, he focused immediately and exclusively on Karen Reed, the outsider. You will learn that no one in the Proctor family has ever called the Reed family their second family. No one in the Proctor family had been in a wedding party with anyone from the Reed family. Karen Reed was a convenient outsider. She was most definitely not from Canton. But how did Michael Proctor feel about her? How did he treat somebody he was investigating at a point in time when he should have been keeping an open mind and focusing on obtaining all possible evidence so that he didn't miss anything? where you will learn that on the very day that John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Michael Proctor was texting with his high school buddies about this supposedly secret investigation using his personal cell phone. He was revealing information about this investigation to his friends, assuming that nobody would ever find out what he was doing and what he was saying. And he was revealing his true thoughts about Karen Reed to his friends, not what he put in his sanitized police reports, his true feelings to his friends whom he trusted, and in text messages that he never thought would come into the hands of the defense in this case. Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor, right from the start, called Karen Reed names you would reserve only for your worst enemies. He told his friends that he hoped that she would kill herself. He told his friends that he had seized her cell phone. And you will learn that he knew he shouldn't have been accessing any content on her cell phone because he knew there would likely be attorney-client communications on between Karen and me at that time. He knew that he was supposed to wait for a search warrant or other permission from a judge in order to go through that phone. But you'll learn that he went through the phone anyway, without permission. And you'll know that he did because he told his high school buddies that he was searching her phone for nude photos of Karen Reed.
Wait, is that actually in a text message?
Yes.
Ooh.
Comments?
Okay, setting aside procedural violations there. Holy shit.
That was exactly my response at the time. He's telling his high school friends he's searching for nude photos of her on her phone.
That's pretty well the definition of inappropriate conduct by an investigating officer.
You think?
Yeah, just a little. I mean, let's see. In a roundabout way, you could argue pre-revenge porn. You could argue sexual harassment, certainly, invasion of privacy. And hang on, how did he even get into the phone in the first place? Did she unlock it, or was it in evidence at the time?
Apparently, it wasn't locked. No, he just seized it without an order or search warrant or anything. He just took it.
He just took it, and it just happened to be unlocked.
Apparently people don't lock their phones. I guess I don't know, but there's more. It gets better. Lynn gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. If you were one of those lucky 5, being Danielle the mod got one. C Winterstorm got one. A little bit sleepy. Digger 420 fun size. Make sure you give Lynn a super special thanks for that 5 gifted Legal Vices memberships. Now, what was his response to his own searching for the nude photos of the defendant illegally on her phone?
Disappointed he hadn't found any yet.
He was disappointed he hadn't found any yet.
And he was disappointed he hadn't found any yet.
Yeah. Exactly. W. McMaster says that the prosecutor should have just conceded after this opening. I mean, yeah, there was no lube involved in this rogering.
Yeah, this isn't even a colonoscopy. This is out and out abuse.
Is the professional and unbiased investigator who was chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. You'll learn that one of Michael Proctor's high school friends commented to him that with a dead body on the front lawn, the homeowner in this case is surely going to catch a lot of grief. And you know what Michael Proctor's response to that was? One word. Nope. And he explained why. Michael Proctor assured his buddies that the homeowner would not catch a lot of grief because, quote, the homeowner's a Boston cop too.
And this dipshit put this all in text messages?
Yup.
Fucking moron. Even if you're going to talk shit like that, no, you don't. A, don't put it in writing. B, just. Oh my god.
Because, quote, the homeowner's a Boston cop too. End quote. That one sentence, ladies and gentlemen, in Michael Proctor's own words, will explain a lot to you about how this investigation was conducted. You will be able to evaluate whether Trooper Michael Proctor treated Brian Albert and his family differently because of who they are and their relationships between his family and theirs. You will evaluate whether this investigation was on the up and up. You will decide, as a result, how valuable or worthless the prosecution's DNA evidence is or is not, in light of who controlled that evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor's fingerprints are figuratively all over this case. His fingerprints are all over the Commonwealth's evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor showed up at Karen Reed's parents' house in Dighton to interview her during the afternoon of January 29th, only hours after John O'Keefe's body was found dead on Brian Albert's front lawn. You'll learn that Michael Proctor had her Lexus SUV towed from her parents' home.
Okay, lead investigator towing the SUV of the defendant. Nothing too particularly surprising there, I would assume. You would agree with that, Hayden?
Provided the proper paperwork was in place, or did they just happen to?
Well, just don't make assumptions.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Was a warrant issued?
Oh, well, let's see what the defense lawyer has to say about that.
You are kidding me.
But before we get there, Just Don Soulless Ginger has also gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. Make sure you give super special thanks to Soulless Ginger, Just Don, if you happen to be Lazul, Bobby Bologna, Chico Mite. Hey, Chico Mite. Good to see you here. Leafy Fifi Foo and Carlos 247. Thank you so much for that generosity. Here's the answer to your question, Hayden.
But you'll also learn that he wrote a search warrant in which he falsified the time that he took that SUV. He swore under oath that the vehicle wasn't towed until 5:30 p.m. But you'll learn that we obtained surveillance footage that he didn't know we would get. And that surveillance footage exposed that Michael Proctor's words in that sworn affidavit were a lie. Michael Proctor had that vehicle for about 90 minutes before he claimed to have taken it.
How has this not been thrown out for improper investigation? How did it make it this far?
Exactly. But as always, it gets worse.
And folks, you will learn that the timing is important, very important. Because when John O'Keefe was first found on Brian Albert's front lawn, the police thoroughly searched that yard for potential evidence. And it wasn't just one officer, or 2, or 3. There were at least 4 officers that searched that front lawn. And that morning was the beginning of a snowstorm, but there wasn't yet much snow on the ground when they were searching that lawn. It was light out by the time they did the search, and it was getting lighter. And during that thorough search of Brian Albert's front lawn, the number of pieces of tail light that were found by a minimum of 4 officers looking for evidence was 0. It was only later in the day, when the snow was really starting to accumulate, that the police miraculously started to find pieces of taillight on the property. The police only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had seized Karen Reed's car. They only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had possession of her taillight. You'll learn that Trooper Michael Proctor then kept going back to the Albert residence after that day, and he claims to have kept finding pieces of taillight on multiple occasions on multiple different days. And in addition, a good week after John O'Keefe's death, Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berkowitz, an older officer on the brink of retirement with probably not the best eyesight, he supposedly was driving, happened to be driving past Brian Albert's house. And by the way, Brian Albert is someone with whom Chief Berkowitz is also good friends. And this older man allegedly spotted yet another piece of taillight from his moving vehicle. This was yet another piece of taillight that was somehow missed by the trained specialists who had previously and thoroughly searched the property. Another piece of taillight that Proctor supposedly missed in the many times he went back to the property. Michael Proctor claims that he kept finding pieces of taillight right up until February 18th of 2022, which was nearly 3 weeks after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's land. You will learn that there is no competent evidence that Karen Reed's taillight shattered at Brian Albert's property in the early morning hours of January 29th of 2022. To the contrary, you'll learn that when Karen left John at Brian Albert's house, she drove back to John's house on Meadows Ave across town in Canton. At John's home, where he lived with his 2 adopted children, Karen was drifting in and out of sleep, but she woke up for good in a panic sometime around 4 a.m. because John hadn't come home. And that was not like him at all. He had never done that before. Karen had a sinking feeling that something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong. So she got back into her Lexus. She backed up out of the garage to leave the driveway. And when she did, the right rear taillight of her Lexus struck John's parked vehicle in the driveway, and her taillight cracked. That was the same taillight that the prosecution now claims was broken outside the Albert residence hours earlier at 12:30 a.m. But we have video evidence that the taillight was actually broken at 5 a.m., many hours after the prosecution needs that taillight to have been broken. There is, of course, no video of the taillight being broken at Brian Albert's house. You will eventually conclude that that's because the taillight was not broken there. Importantly, you will learn that there was an eyewitness who arrived at 34 Fairview after Karen got there with John O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29th. And that eyewitness, Brian Nagel, who's the brother of Julie Nagel, who was at the after-hours party that night. He had a clear view of Karen's SUV. Brian Nagel confirms that there was no damage to her taillight at that time. Karen was sitting in the driver's seat with her hands at 10 and 2. And Ryan Nagel confirms that while Karen was inside the car, John O'Keefe was not. John O'Keefe was also not outside the car at that time. You will ultimately conclude there's only one other place he could have been. Now, going back to that 5 a.m. video from John's driveway, you will see Karen back up her Lexus and strike John's car at about 5 a.m. when she was leaving John's house to go out to look for him. And you will know that she struck his car at 5 a.m. because you will watch that video closely. You will witness that the wheels and the hubcaps on John's car are jostled and moved by Karen's SUV. And you will conclude that that video depicts exactly when Karen's taillight was cracked, long after she dropped off John that night at 34 Fairview. And you will learn that part of the reason that Karen's Lexus hit John's car was that Karen was panicked at that time. Where is John? Why didn't he come home? What happened to him? And you will learn that she was racking her brain for what possibly could have happened. And like many of us, was worried about the worst. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? That was what she was saying, both to herself and to other people later that morning when she went back to 34 Fairview. She couldn't think of anything else that made sense. She certainly didn't consider in a million years that someone from within the Albert home could have beaten up John and left him to die on the front lawn. Now, that was over 2 years ago. Karen didn't know then what you will learn during this trial. Karen didn't.
Here's where he ramps up the accusations and assertions as to what happened that night. As if it hasn't been bad enough yet.
Know that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house sometime after Karen pulled away. She didn't know that after Jennifer McCabe dropped off some people elsewhere, she returned to her own home. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe climbed some stairs in her home and eventually made it into her bedroom with her cell phone. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe settled in at 2:27 in the morning on January 29, 2022, and typed a Google search that she would later delete. 2:27 in the morning was over 3 hours before John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's lawn. 2:27 was over 3 hours before anyone knew or suspected that John O'Keefe was missing or hurt or in trouble. And at 2:27 in the morning, you will learn that with no one watching her, thinking she was alone with her thoughts.
Now, Jennifer McCabe is the sister-in-law of Brian Albert, the cop owner of the house. So the sister-in-law of the house, the sister-in-law of the owner of the house where the body was found, Googled this.
Not worrying that anyone would know what she was doing, Jennifer McCabe typed in the following Google search: how long to die in the cold? Now,
yes.
Okay, she could have searched for how long till you die from hypothermia, but I'll digress on that. How long to die from the cold?
3 hours before anybody knew anyone was at risk of dying in the cold, and deleted the search from her search history.
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all, is it?
No.
she misspelled the first word, so the actual search was how long to die in the cold, but you'll get the point. You will ask yourself, why would somebody Google how long does it take for someone to die in the cold, unless that person knew someone who either was in that situation or would be in that situation. You will question during this trial, who was it who actually did die in the cold at some point that night, sometime after Jen McCabe was asking Google for an answer to her question. And you'll learn that the answer to that question was John O'Keefe. The medical examiner in this case will testify that one of the causes of John O'Keefe's death was hypothermia. John O'Keefe died in part because he was left to die in the cold. Now, the Commonwealth will try to dispute the timing of that Google search. They'll try to claim that there were only 2 Google searches at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. after John's body was found.
She re-Googled it.
For the Commonwealth will be that we have retained Richard Green, one of the leading computer forensic experts in the country. Rick Green has forensically analyzed Jennifer McCabe's phone, both manually and using every appropriate type of computer software to solve this issue. Rick Green will confirm for you that Jennifer McCabe did indeed make that search at 2:27 a.m. And another problem for the Commonwealth is that you will hear and see other evidence that will confirm that Jennifer McCabe is lying when she denies making that Google search at 2:27 a.m. You will conclude that before she went to bed, if she went to bed that night, Jennifer McCabe wanted to know just how long it would take for someone to die in the cold. And a big question in this trial for you will be, when was John O'Keefe left to die in the cold? I expect the Commonwealth will try to persuade you that he was left there sometime around 12:30 a.m. because they're going to try to prove to you that Karen Reed hit him and that his body stayed there the entire night until first responders arrived at 6 a.m. and his body was taken to the hospital. But you will learn that there are big problems with the Commonwealth's theory of this case. You will learn that there were 6 people at that after-hours party at Brian Albert's house, all of whom left by the front door and would have been confronted by John O'Keefe's lifeless body on that lawn if he was actually there at that time. Those 6 people walked out the front door to 34 Fairview, walked to their cars, either in the driveway or parked in front of the house. Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, was there. Her husband, Matthew McCabe, was there. ATF federal agent Brian Higgins was there, who was also Brian Albert's friend. Sarah Levinson, a friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. Julie Nagel, another friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. And Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert's daughter, was also there. All of them leaving the residence. Each of those people left 34 Fairview in Canton, where Brian Albert lived. Each of them walked out facing the front lawn, where the Commonwealth will tell you that a 6'2", nearly 220-pound big man in dark clothing was sprawled on the front lawn when there was only a dusting of white snow on the ground. He was supposedly sprawled on that lawn, just feet from where these people were walking when they left the residence. And you will learn that not one of these people saw John O'Keefe laying. Not one. And you know who else saw no one laying outside in the early morning hours of January 29th? The snowplow driver in charge of plowing the street for the city of Canton. And this is another big problem for the Commonwealth. You will learn that Michael Proctor, here's that name again, wrote a report where he claimed that the DPW supervisor had told him that Fairview Road had not been plowed that night. Proctor's total investigation on this issue consisted of one phone call and no follow-up. He just submitted his report that simply said the road hadn't been plowed that night, and perhaps thinking that no one else would follow up either. But you'll learn that when it came to finding out the truth, it's not that Proctor couldn't find the truth, it's that he wouldn't. But fortunately, you'll learn that we would, and we did. You'll learn that within weeks after January 29th, we sent our investigator, a former Medford police officer named Paul Makowski, to the Canton DPW to try to get to the bottom of this. Paul Makowski talked to the same supervisor at the DPW, a man named Michael Trotta, whom Proctor claimed had told him that the street hadn't been plowed that night. You'll learn that Paul Makowski found out that Michael Proctor was not telling the truth. You'll learn that Michael Trotta from the DPW told Paul Makowski, our investigator, that the street was indeed plowed that night, and that the name of the plow driver was Brian Loughran. So Paul Makowski tracked down Brian Loughran.
I love that. So yeah, the street wasn't plowed that night, says the state's leading investigator. It's like, well, we're going to call the plow truck driver as a witness.
Call Mr. Plow. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
Seriously.
He asked Mr. Loughran if the state police or any investigators had ever spoken to him. And the answer came back, no. You will then learn what Brian Loughran had to say about what he saw and didn't see that night, and you will be shocked. Brian Loughran told Paul Makowski that he was driving a big snowplow in Canton that night. You'll learn that the nickname for it at the DPW was Frankenstein, because it had a lot of spare parts and it had been around forever. Brian Loughran told Paul Makowski that when he plows the streets of Canton in Frankenstein, he's very careful. He makes sure to check not only the roads in front of him, but also the yards to the side of his plow. He makes sure not to hit a fire hydrant or a tree or an animal, or heaven forbid, a person lying in the snow. He's always on the lookout. You'll learn that Brian Loughran passed by 34 Fairview in his plow, traveling right by Brian Albert's front lawn at 2:30 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Loughran confirms that at about 2:30, when he went by that house, John O'Keefe was not on that front lawn. So you'll learn that about 2 hours after the Commonwealth claims that Karen Reed somehow incapacitated John O'Keefe, an eyewitness confirms that not only could it not have happened, but it didn't happen. But you'll learn that Brian Loughran also provides some other troubling testimony for the Commonwealth. You'll learn that after making that pass at 2:30 in the morning and seeing no body, he showed up again at the entrance to Fairview Road, intending to make another pass down it with his plow. This time, however, at about 3:30 in the morning, he looked down the street and he saw that parked right next to Brian Albert's front lawn, right in the very area where John O'Keefe's body was later found at 6 a.m., Brian Loughran saw a Ford Edge parked on the side of the road. You will learn that the police have done zero investigation to discover whose Ford Edge that was. You'll learn that members of the Albert family drove Ford Edges. You'll learn that the police to this day claim not to know who was parked right next to the area where John O'Keefe's body was later found. You will learn that while investigators on this case, including Michael Proctor, completely ignored the snowplow driver who went right by the Albert residence, the defense not only tracked him down and interviewed him, but the plow driver actually took our investigator on a ride back past the residence to explain the precise route that he had taken on January 29th. You'll learn that some other curious things were going on in the early morning hours.
Yeah, as if that's not enough. There's more curious things going on, Hayden. Are you a little mystified and a little confused yet?
I would say no, because this to me smacks of corruption. So this isn't really confusing for me because a lot of dots are lining in a row for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's fill in a few more dots, as if we can't tell what the picture is already.
Of January, this case utterly failed to investigate. For example, after people left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house on January 29, Brian Albert claimed that he had no contact with anyone but his wife until he was woken up in the morning. But you will learn that he was ultimately confronted by the fact that his phone records revealed that he had actually placed a phone call to ATF agent Brian Higgins, his friend, the same friend who had been at his house earlier that night. And that was at 2:22 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Higgins called him back 17 seconds later, and they connected for 22 seconds on their cell phones. You'll be asked to consider just how long 22 seconds is and what could be said and discussed.
You can say a lot in 22 seconds.
You will consider that phone call in the context of the other curious things that were going on during the early morning hours of January 29th. You will learn about the following in chronological order. 2:12 a.m., Jennifer McCabe arrives at her home. 2:22 a.m., Brian Albert calls Brian Higgins. 2:22 a.m., 17 seconds later, Higgins calls him back. And Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are on the phone together for 22 seconds. 2:23 a.m., Jennifer McCabe climbs the stairs to her bedroom. 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe searches on Google, how long to die in the cold. 2:30 a.m., plow driver Brian Loughran confirms there was no body on Brian Albert's front lawn. 3:30 a.m., Brian Loughran confirms that a Ford Edge was parked right where John O'Keefe's body was later found. The Commonwealth will not be able to successfully dispute any of those facts, yet I expect that they will persist in asking you to convict Karen Read anyway. You will learn that there are other major problems with the Commonwealth's theory. You'll learn that when John O'Keefe was found, he did not look like he had been hit by a car. You'll learn that he looked to have been attacked and beaten up. You'll learn that John O'Keefe was a large 6'2" man who, if positioned behind a Lexus SUV, would have had his torso completely exposed to the rear of that vehicle, including to the tail light. You'll learn that no part of his torso was injured. There was no bruising, no ridges, no scratches, no punctures. You'll learn that his chest and hips and legs were pristine, despite the Commonwealth's contention that he was hit by a 6,000-pound vehicle. The evidence will show that what was not pristine was his right arm. You will take one look at that arm, and you will conclude that a car did not cause those injuries. The injuries to John O'Keefe's arm appear to be consistent with scratch marks and claw marks, marks that make it look as though an animal had attacked his arm. But you won't have to rely just on your common sense when you look at those photos. You'll hear from an expert forensic pathologist who is world-renowned, who has personally conducted thousands of autopsies. And he will testify that those marks are consistent with scratch and claw marks and bite marks from an animal, including a German Shepherd. You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, Brian Albert's family dog, Chloe, was a German Shepherd. You'll learn that Brian Albert has admitted that this dog is not good around strangers. You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, John O'Keefe would have been a stranger to that dog. And you'll learn that Chloe had been the beloved family dog for the Alberts for 7 years. The Albert family loved Chloe. But strangely, as we discuss this dog today, the Albert family doesn't have its beloved Chloe anymore. You'll learn that Brian Albert was called to testify before the grand jury regarding this matter in April of 2022, and that he did testify about his German Shepherd, Chloe, during that grand jury testimony. And you'll learn that not long after that testimony, Brian Albert and his family rehomed their beloved family dog. They gave away their family dog, and Chloe, the German Shepherd, is therefore now gone. Now, the Commonwealth will try to take your attention away from all of these troubling facts and try to persuade you not to consider their shocking lack of investigation of anyone else, not to consider John O'Keefe's injuries, not to consider the fact that multiple people left the residence and saw no body, not to consider the fact that the snowplow driver was specifically looking at 2:30 a.m. and there was nobody there, not to consider the fact that two people in the house were communicating at 2:22 a.m. but denied speaking to each other for 22 seconds, and not to consider the fact that one of their witnesses, who was also present at home, was unusually curious at 2:27 a.m. about how long it would take for someone to die in the cold. Commonwealth will instead try to persuade you that Karen Read supposedly had a motive to kill John O'Keefe because they were not getting along. You'll hear about their trip to Aruba over New Year's Eve and that Karen was upset that John had been flirting with another woman. And you will hear that Karen considered exploring her options after that trip, which led her to a get-together at one point with ATF federal agent Brian Higgins, although that never went anywhere. But you'll also hear that in January of 2022, after the Aruba trip, and not long before January 28th and 29th, John O'Keefe was making long-term plans with Karen, including a family trip with her and the kids, and also another trip with Karen and another couple for months into the future. And you'll see video of how John and Karen were interacting on the night in question. You'll see for yourself how they looked at each other from the video at the waterfall that night. Nobody who saw them that night saw anything wrong. There was nothing wrong. I mean, like any couples, occasionally they would bicker or disagree, but you will hear zero evidence of any domestic violence in that home whatsoever. John never raised a hand in anger toward Karen, and Karen never raised a hand in anger toward John. That simply wasn't who they are. You will conclude the notion that Karen Reed chose the start of a snowstorm to suddenly become violent out of the blue for the first time and intentionally kill her boyfriend by hitting him with her car and leaving him there with a house full of people inside is patently ridiculous. You will also learn that what's not ridiculous is that someone, not Karen Reed, ambushed John O'Keefe. Somebody probably didn't mean to kill him, but somebody went too far. You'll learn that Trooper Proctor failed to investigate motives that other people had to harm John O'Keefe. You'll learn that Proctor failed to investigate anything or anyone who was in the Albert residence that night. You'll learn that he failed to investigate the antagonistic relationship between members of the Albert family and John O'Keefe. You'll learn that apparently nobody investigates the Albert family of Canton. Remember, on day one, Trooper Proctor was asked whether the homeowner, Brian Albert, would catch a lot of grief. And Trooper Proctor himself said it. Nope. Homeowner's a Boston cop too. So folks, the trial is now about to start and that witnesses are about to start testifying. On behalf of Karen Reed, I ask that you do two things during this trial. First, I ask that you pay attention to all of the evidence. The way trials work, the prosecution gets to present its case first. They conduct their direct examinations first. So we respectfully ask that you wait for us. We will get to cross-examine their witnesses, and you will find that cross-examination is the key that unlocks the truth. Wait for us. You'll be glad that you did. Second, I ask that you keep your eye on the ball. You have one job and one job only to do during this trial, and that job, quite frankly, is not to solve this case. Your only job during this trial is to determine whether the Commonwealth, the prosecution, has proven to you each and every element of the crimes they have charged, beyond a reasonable doubt, to a moral certainty. The prosecution will fail to prove this case to a moral certainty. They will fail to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. You will reasonably doubt their case because their theory of the case does not make sense. You will reasonably doubt their case because Karen Reed was framed, and the evidence shows that, despite the fact that the police never ever investigated that angle of this case at all. Because the prosecution will not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty, we will stand before you again at the end of this trial and ask that you find Karen Reed not guilty.
All right.
Well, what's your thoughts, Hayden?
Holy crap. I mean, look, to be fair, that pretty well sums it up in 2 words, but
yeah, where do you start? Where do you start?
Okay, masterful opening for the defense, because even in my sleep-deprived state, I'm sitting here thinking he had me hooked from the start right through. I listened to everything that he had to say. He laid it out very clearly. And the fact that there are so many deficiencies in the police's case, the fact that they very clearly had blinders on, and that he's actually alleging that they framed her, makes sense with how he laid it out. I really hope that this guy does the closing and that he's as detailed. But for the life of me, I cannot understand how this has even made it to trial.
That's the general consensus. I mean, to the point where the entire courthouse during the preliminary hearings, during the status hearings, it's full of Karen Reed supporters.
Mhm.
There's literally like ranks of people demonstrating on behalf of her in front of the courthouse. When have you ever heard of people rallying behind a defendant in a cop murder case to the point where they have to enforce a 200-meter buffer zone between the courthouse and protesters, demonstrators, supporters, whatever you want to call them?
Look, it's not without precedent, but at the same time, it's incredibly rare.
Yeah. And I think that they've called 7 or 8 witnesses the prosecution has, and literally every one of them, except for the first couple, which are family members of the victim, have been murdered by the defense on the stand.
As well, they should.
You heard a little bit of the cross-examination of the firefighter chick earlier today.
Yeah,
she got off easy comparative to the other witnesses.
No shit. Really?
The first person on scene, the first officer on the scene, no shit, no lie, no exaggeration. The first question asked on cross-examination and the first answer given on cross-examination was, "Isn't everything in the police dispatch log a lie?" Yes. That was the first question and answer to the first officer on the scene. The dispatch log was wrong on the order the police officers arrived, the times they arrived, where they were dispatched from, what house they arrived at. They were all at an address on the dispatch report. It was the house next door to the police officer's house that was listed as the place for it. And literally everything in that police dispatch log was a lie. And the cops straight up admitted it. That's how the trial got off.
I can understand why the prosecution's hair is the least of his worries at this point.
Right. That's it. I mean, this is an interesting trial. I knew it would be fascinating, but I had no clue it would be this fascinating. That's my facial expression this entire past week. It's just like going, what the fuck is going on here?
I keep forming thoughts and then they immediately keep getting disregarded because I keep applying proper criminal procedure thought process to it. It was lost for me at the point where you go, what would happen if there was a dead cop in your front yard? That's the only question the jury really has to think about. Yeah, to understand that they would be all treated incredibly differently to what this officer was. And did they say that a dog went missing?
Oh yeah, the family German Shepherd. And if you go in your spare time, Google the pictures of John O'Keefe's arm. It clearly is scratch and bite marks on his arm. The German Shepherd went missing shortly after the grand jury testimony about the dog, to the point where the judge issued an order compelling and ordering them to disclose where the dog is currently.
And they didn't know or they.
Yeah, no, don't know.
Okay, I'm just going to say this right now. Over the course of my lifetime, I've had some beloved pets. Due to certain circumstances, I've had to say goodbye to those pets and rehome them. To this day, I still have the contact details for those people.
Me too. And the dog that I had to rehome has been dead for at least 10 years, and I still know where the dog was. They completely remodeled the basement of their home shortly after the incident happened, like gutted it.
Oh yeah, that's
completely redid it. And they filled in the swimming pool, and it's just weird. And they moved eventually. So yeah. Not looking good.
Have they done one of those like underground like radio X-ray things at the basement in the pool?
They'll probably find the dog. That's what
I'm starting to think they might find Hoffa, for God's sakes.
Well, that was a comment yesterday. That the dog is being rehomed to Jimmy Hoffa. That was one of our comments in chat yesterday.
Damn it, chat's always one step ahead of me.
Well, it's getting about time to shut this down. So while I take care of business, I'm going to ask you to grift yourself.
Fair enough. Guys, Aussie Overlord doing the show called Law News and Laughter. Generally, we try and add in a little bit of levity, bring you just a little bit of legal know-how. I'm an Aussie larrikin that generally can't keep his mouth shut, except for when I'm on everybody else's channel and I have no idea what the fuck to say. So, yeah, we try and bring a little bit of levity, laughter. I already said that. What am I doing? It's 3 a.m. Give me a break, people. Yeah, if you're interested in the news stories that you may or may not actually see, even on the larger channels, because I really dig deep and I try and find the stuff that you're just not necessarily going to hear about. But how long do they have the dog? I think they said 7 years, which is really, like, if it's such a beloved dog. I mean, my ears pricked up when they said that someone that was there was with the ATF, and that made me think, well, they've got a history there of not liking dogs, don't they? So,
Hello. What have I walked into? I seem to have overheard things.
Look, we weren't talking about the chick and the dog. That's a completely different story that was from last week. No, I was just... Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that's it. And I urge every one of you 489 people that are still here to get on over to Aussie Overlord and subscribe to him and like all of his videos and to do whatever he tells you to do. He is your master and commander. So there you go. Just saying, he deserves your subscription.
I try my best, people, but to be perfectly honest, I've had my fair share of drive-by subscribers. What I would ask is that you go and watch some of the content or drop by one of the live shows. There's generally 2 a day. If you like it, sub. You got nothing to lose, people.
Of course they'll like it. Why wouldn't they? Unless they're like, deficient. All right, here's what's gonna happen right now. We're going to shut this down. We're going to do about a 2-minute going away little outro. And then we're going to send you over to Eric Hunley's Friday night, Legal Friday or Friday Legal, whatever he's renamed the place. It used to be Laid Back Friday, Laid Back News. Now it's like Legal Friday or something like that. But we're going to send you over there automatically. I'm going to be joining you. Hayden's going to be going to sleep because it's about 2:15 a.m. for him. So I'm going to go on over there, and so you'll join me over there in a second. I'm not sure who they have on the panel yet, but there'll be a lot more people that are cooler than me over there. So I'll go there and just kind of bring it down to human level. And I'm going to fuck off for camping for 3 days. But at some point during the weekend, probably when the liquor kicks in, I'll do a members only stream from the campground here in nice, wonderful South Korea. And we'll hang out for a bit. We had other plans, they just didn't work out.
Oh, you didn't make it to the store? That's a shame. Yeah, that's all right. One less thing that we're gonna do tomorrow. So
we'll do a members only stream here at some point during Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure when, but you'll figure it out. Just pay attention. If you happen to be a member, make sure you check on your responses and whatnot. We'll do what we can. But anyway, I just want to say a super special thanks to Mods. Thank you for hanging out here for 3 hours and 13 minutes. Thank you, chat, for your generosity, your super chats, your monthly memberships, your gifted memberships, just everything. Thank you so much for spending your time with me when you could literally have been doing anything else on planet Earth that you can conceive of doing. But you chose to be here with me and Hayden, and I appreciate that deeply. And just thanks for being here and chatting and keeping the humor there, keeping it light, keeping us entertained, and hopefully I kept you a little bit entertained, and hopefully Hayden did too. So, Hayden, any parting words?
As always, people, just remember, you're not a piece of shit, and you do contribute to society. And stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Catch you on the flip side.
Except for me. I'm a piece of shit that doesn't contribute to society.
Oh, look, so am I, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I know. And on behalf of the snoring meatloaf and myself, we'll see you all at some point over the weekend. If not, catch me on Maritime Monday, where we're going to be doing a little interesting thing about the Titanic. Until then, take care, folks. Bye.